And we are live from the epic Spa-Francorchamps circuits, where we are going to have one of the most exciting races of the year. And we barely got this year started. This is going to be amazing. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, and welcome to the HSM European GT Endurance Cup here at Spa. 3 hours of action, and the weather looks like it's going to be very dicey indeed. We're in qualifying right now. I'm your host for this evening for all 3 hours and then some, Max Palmer, and with me in the studio is Chan Wei Han.
Hi Max, hi everyone. Great to be back here again for the season finale of the HSM GT European Tour. We're, of course, like you mentioned, coming from Spa, and we are kind of also in endurance season because just last weekend was, for those of you who follow real world racing, just last weekend was the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona, and the whole endurance fever has already kick-started. So what a great way to celebrate the opening of the endurance calendar with an endurance season ender, season close here at Spa. I think it's absolutely interesting indeed. What I heard from the organizers is that with this being a 3-hour race, it's going to be in some ways similar to last week, where you have the whole day-night cycle on an accelerator. So within these 3 hours, the drivers will go through the whole 24-hour cycle within 3 hours. So the day, night, and day within 3 hours, and we'll also have different spouts of rain later on. So plenty in store for the drivers here, Max.
Absolutely. Now, that's going to be the biggest trouble for these drivers as we go into the race there. We're just watching the qualifying right now. Ryan Lim is your pole position man at the moment, but that could change very, very soon. Before we look at the track conditions, let's have a look at the team standings. From round 3, LOR Ascent still in the lead, 67 points, plays Slow and Steadies 53, with GSR in 3rd place, followed by Velocity, Gladius, Swift Sim Racing, and Team Force. And now we'll have a look at the solo standings. It's still fairly interesting right the way through the leaderboard there. Afik Farid is in the lead, 65 points, plays Ali Khairuddin's 46. Now, if my math is correct, I do believe he needs either 8 or 10 points in order to seal the championship, but 3-hour-long race, it's going to be very difficult to predict what will happen next. Ali Khairuddin still has a chance of winning the championship regardless, and Moyen Taufik also has a chance of improving his position in 3rd place. In 4th is Zeth Yuen, followed by Ryan Lim, Aiden Tan, and Shazwan Shafiq in 7th. And now as we look at the drivers heading out onto the track there and trying to get their hot laps in, this is going to be the challenging part about Spa, is not only are they going to have the full day-night cycle, but they're also going to have the full rain cycle as well. And this is something that's going to be really tricky around Spa. The changing weather, the changing temperatures out on track, it's going to be very difficult to find a setup that will work through all conditions. If you set the car up for the wet, it's going to be affected in the dry. If you set it up for dry conditions, it will be affected in the wet. And as we found out earlier before the broadcast starts, there is a bit of randomness to the weather right now, so even the organizers can't predict it.
That's not a good thing for the drivers, so the drivers will have to be resourceful and adapt as they go. But, well, as long as you have a safe baseline of a setup, you peg your baseline based on the most average, the kind of the middle ground conditions, I think you should do fine throughout the race. So we have a total of, at present, I think 20 drivers on the grid at the moment. We might see some drivers probably deciding not to do some solo drivers deciding not to do solo entries today, whereas for the team entries, probably no changes on that front. So with this being a 3-hour race, of course, it will play in the advantage of the drivers who are already in the teams. As if you're a solo driver, 3 hours in the seat is not an easy feat. So we'll see how these drivers do.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not just 3 hours, but they've also got a little bit of practice earlier on today and qualifying as well. So it's closer to 4 hours in total being in the cars there. Afik Farid for the FART team And beautiful Speed Tavern livery on the cars there. Quite a few drivers from Speed Tavern choosing to go solo this time around just to give themselves a bit of a challenge. Unfortunately, we had one or two of the Speed Tavern guys drop out. I think Farid is actually quite lucky to be here today. A little bit under the weather over the last week or so, but it looks like he's out there and raring to go again. He just needs a few extra points in order to seal the championship, so it's in his best interest to try regardless and just make sure he can actually get out there and race. But it's good to see these guys, probably the most endurance-like drivers out there. I mean, in real life, Le Mans racing and things like that, you do occasionally get the 3-hour stints. But I'd have to say, and this might be me coming from the real-life background into sim racing, to me, it seems harder to actually do it on the sim than it does in real life, at least mentally, because it's very easy to get checked out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think having done some endurance races myself in sim racing as well, I think there's always there is a certain mental fatigue to things because you ultimately you're still sat in front of the screen for hours on end, so it does kind of get to you past a certain point. So hats off to all these sim racers for pushing this, especially those guys who are pushing this 3-hour stint on their own. We have a look at the drivers who have set down their qualifying lap time. So we are indeed towards the end of the qualifying, and most drivers have already set down their qualifying lap times. So at the moment, provisional pole is by Iqbal Suji. Provisional pole with a 2:18.5, and Jaden Liao and Taufik Boyin are the drivers up in your provisional top 3. So I'd say that we have a slightly wider spread of lap times this time, with Spa being a bigger racetrack. So the drivers are all within, I'd say, 3 to 4 seconds of one another, which is a typical sign of sufficient competitiveness of the grid.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the interesting thing about Iqbal Suji is that we haven't seen much of him over the last 3 rounds, and to be honest with you, I haven't actually noticed that he was in the championship. I could be wrong in this. We'll try and investigate a little bit later on, but I do think he is a late addition to the championship, which is great. Iqbal Suji, a lot of experience under that right foot, and also a very varied driver. He's quite up for doing all sorts of different things. He's also a big name in Malaysian sim rallying as well. He's done quite a few international events on Dirt Rally 2, EAWRC and RBR. So it'd be interesting to see how he gets on with these big GT cars. Of course, he's also done a lot of circuit stuff as well. He's in fact done a couple of sprint rallies in real life as well. So he's done this whole sim racing to real life sort of transition as well. And I hear the last time I talked to him, he was trying to actually get his MR2 into racing spec for, I believe MSF might have a class for him there. So it's interesting and very exciting to see Iqbal Suji out there in what must be quite a beautiful looking beast there, the Row Racing BMW. Quite a famous name around the Nürburgring, tackling Spa this time around.
Yeah, that is a pretty iconic paint scheme indeed. I remember, well, I can't remember exactly which team races that row BMW. But anyways.
The great thing about this is that I have enough time to actually Google all this stuff. The beauty of endurance racing broadcasts. The the checkered flag has come out in qualifying right now. Zeth Yuen has actually taken over the top spot as of this second. Taufik in second place, Iqbal Suji in third, Adam Harith in fourth position, but he's just been topped by Afiq Farid, who's managed to sneak himself up into fourth position. Remember, he really wants to get those 10 or so points, so he's about on the money right now in terms of getting the points there. He really absolutely has to try as hard as possible. Ethan Lowe, I think, there in sixth position, and further down the field, Shazwan Shafiq's in ninth position. He's just dropped down to 10th there. That's Tan, who's gone up to 9th, and Amar in 8th position there. Kelvin Pao in 11th place, Claudius in 12th. The lone NSX, Kamal Ali in 13th position. And not too many Astons out on the grid there, but Ryan Lim flying the flag in 14th place. We have Kopi Santan in the Merc in 17th position. It's all changing right now. It looks like the fastest laps are going to be the last lap of the race right now. So it's Liao there in 7th place right now. He's the quickest man still on track. He's come across the line. He's unable to improve his position. And it looks like Kevin Powell could possibly gain some positions there. He's quite quick around this track. Let's see how he goes. Brendan Chong in 10th place.
We still have quite a competitive, spicy grid at this moment. So yeah, my memory did serve me right. So I did see that row BMW M4 GT3 in Macau those years back. So it was that car driven by Marcello. Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, he's a bit of a specialist around that track, actually, come to think of it. He always seems to do very well around Macau. He's a bit... it's one of those drivers that just capture a street race vibe quite well. But it looks like Zeth Yuen is going to be your pole position man. Tan in 2nd place, Taufik in 3rd, Suji in 4th position, and Afiq Farid in 5th place. Ryan Lim managing a fantastic lap time to get himself all the way up to 6th place. Remember, he was down in the teens the previous lap there. Adam Harith in 7th, Ethan Lowe in 8th, Liao in 9th position, and Shazwan Shafiq in 10th.
So we do have the rest of the drivers who've also set down their lap times from Amar onwards, Brendan Chong, and the rest of the drivers down. So at the moment, still most of the drivers in the top 10 are within 1 and just under 2 seconds of one another. So that's still pretty decent in terms of the spread of pace. We can expect quite good racing to take place. So as Amir Hazik had correctly predicted a couple of rounds ago, that in any length of race, more so in a longer race like this, you have the first and thirds of the race where things are still pretty intense, but you have a lull period in the middle. So I think here we might see the first hour being having some decent competition where drivers will probably be putting their effort into getting themselves to a good position to stake their ground. After that, in the second third of the race, during the second hour, the drivers would probably be just going through motion, making sure the car survives. And in the final third is where they will probably, once they've kind of established the pace in the race, that's where they'll probably think of committing to any moves that they can afford to commit to towards the end of the race. So certainly plenty to look forward to in these 3 hours here at Spa Max.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break while the drivers are going to grid up, but do stay tuned. We'll be right back as soon as they're about to start the race. Stick around. And we are back right here at the final round of the championship, and it's looking very, very exciting indeed. The cars are about to go off on their formation lap, and if you guys have just missed the qualifying, Zethuan is in pole position. With Tan in second place, Taufik in third, and Suji in fourth place. The cars are beginning to roll out for the start of their lap, and it gives us the time to have a look at this wonderful circuit. 7 kilometers long, and it's been in the Ardennes Mountains for well over a century. It used to be 14 kilometers long between 3 villages. But the shortened circuit had to come about because the old circuit was a bit too dangerous. This is the most famous corner of the track, Eau Rouge and Radion. Eau Rouge being the bit at the bottom and Radion being the bit at the top. Believe it or not, back in the 20s, the track used to go from Eau Rouge to a hairpin by a customs checkpoint. Very tight first gear hairpin before going back onto the modern track and going up to Radion. And up at the top straight here, this is the Camel Straight, which again didn't used to be a straight, it was the Camel Curves, and it was a very challenging place to drive a Formula One car in the 60s. But this is where we depart the historic old Spa and into the new section, the section that saved the Grand Prix here at Spa, and perhaps probably one of the most rewarding and demanding sectors to drive in all the motorsports.
Yeah, so here in the second sector, a lot of focus, in fact, is on, well, if you have a high downforce setup, then it is beneficial to your car, but otherwise it is a segment of a racetrack that's very taxing on your tires, on your mechanical grip. So a lot of medium to high speed corners, even if you take it at low speed, it is still pretty high speed because you are burning through your tires through these segments of corners. So you're taking the Brussels hairpin, this no-name corner, left-hander, a short run down here before coming through some higher speed, fourth, fifth gear left-handers later on. Well, the drivers are coming upon that segment now into Pullhorn. So this part of the track is a little bit newer in the Grand Prix layout. Well, in newer, I would say in the more recent decades since the 80s. So certainly it's also one of the places where you can decide to make your overtaking moves work. In fact, it's one of the safer places of the track to think about overtaking moves in this twisty section. So campus left, right segment there. A bit of a short stretch here before then coming upon the kind of the bottommost part of the circuit, Stavlo corner. One of the corners where you can, this corner right here, dab on the brakes, but you want to ensure that you carry as much of an exit as possible, because the corner coming right up here, this light Paul Frere corner, it's almost full throttle. Depending on the car you're driving, you can lift if you want to. This is where you're carrying all the speed down into the third sector of the circuit. So Max, this is where we're coming upon. This is the final sector of the circuit. It's also we're also rejoining the old classic part of the Spa-Francorchamps circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming down towards Blanchemont, which is one of the original corners there, as yet unchanged as of now, although for many, many years there were talks of trying to reprofile the corner to make it a little bit safer, but I'm glad they decided instead to just move the barriers back, and we've got quite a bit of tarmac on the exit there, which didn't used to be there. In fact, most of this track was still public road right up until the year 2000. So you used to still be able to see the bus stop that was just off of this corner. Right now, the final chicane is very un-bus stop-like, and Zethuan is very uncalm-like as we're about to start racing here, and you can see there's a few drops on the screen. If my eyes aren't deceiving me, this is going to be a very challenging race to start off with, and we'll have a look and see if the lights go green. And
it seems like it hasn't. Oh, we could be using the classic start finish.
Yes. I was just about to say, I was about to get excited about the hairpin at the bottom of the hill here, La Source, which is another traditional corner there, but I do believe that they are in fact using the endurance layout, the old Grand Prix start line up ahead here. So Zeth Yuan getting ready to Zeth Yuan getting ready to go. We'll have a look and see if they will actually go. Yes, indeed, they have. Green flag is out, and they charge down into Eau Rouge and up Radion. Corner here, Zeth managing to get himself up into the lead. Tan in second place. Iqbal Suji using a lot of that rally experience to get himself, keep himself up into third position. Taufik is still in fourth place. And Farid in fifth, with Ryan Lin in sixth position. But they're going side by side, coming down towards the braking zone here. Will we see an overtaking maneuver? A few cars actually going side by side down the Camel Straight. If you look at these guys there, a couple of cars going a bit wide. The rain starting to come down. The weather getting very treacherous indeed. It's all about trying to keep the car in a straight line. Tan managing to get himself up into the lead there, with Yuan and Taufik fighting up for second and third position there. Zeth Yuan in the Royal Racing car, he was in pole position, now he's dropped back down into third place. A lot of maneuvers happening right now. In fact, you could be forgiven for thinking these guys are racing as if it was a 10-lap sprint. I think no matter what you tell your drivers in the briefing, no matter what they think about when it comes to the start of the race, every race start is a sprint race start. Coming around into Puhon and out of Puhon again, and Aiden Tan is in the lead. Zeth Yuan in second place and Taufik in third position. Cars still chopping and changing positions there. It's very, very exciting right now.
Yeah, that was a brilliant start to a 3-hour-long race here at Spa. So certainly the drivers absolutely want to stake their claim on as high as a position as they can, while the opportunity still presents itself. So I would still say that the drivers are still following the rule that you don't win the race at first corner. So we haven't had any first corner dramas just yet, but we do have a Taufik who's climbed up to first place, I presume.
Yep. That looks like the case. Taufik is in fact up into first place, Aiden Tan in second, and Zeth Yuan in third position. Moin Taufik there. Actually, yeah, it's Moin Taufik in first position, Aiden Tan in second position. And look at the gap he's managed to actually extend right there. Through the third sector, he was absolutely flying. And I think Farid also doing fantastic in these conditions right now, up into fourth position and really pushing those podium places very hard right now. So this is the interesting part. You're going to see different drivers come to the forefront there. Taufik is another driver that has a little bit of rally experience there. I think Farid, in fact, just picked up sim rallying very recently. It's sort of one of the reasons why he got back into sim racing. Beautiful overtaking move there, and a spin at the top of Radion. Big crash there, and it looks like he's just about managed to keep it off the racing track. Hopefully the rest of the field will be able to get through there, and that means that Afik looks like he's managed to get himself up a position there, but he's still fighting with Shazwan there for fourth position coming into the braking zone there. He manages to claim that place, and Afik Farid is up into third place. That's a lot of excitement for a man who's about to do this whole 3-hour race solo, believe it or not. So your current positions there: Taufik in first, Zeth Yuan in second, Afik Farid is in fact in third position. I believe a car actually went off there. Shazwan Shafiq is now trying to fight for position. They go side by side. A little bit of history with these two drivers there. You could say that they're a little bit frenemies in the track, although they're good friends out of it. And Shazwan just about managing to hold up position and get himself into third position right now. The positions are chopping and changing quicker than the timing screens can sort them out, so we'll get a confirmation as we get through the next sector. But in the meantime, we're going to look at Jaden Liao, LOR Ascent. He's one of the lucky drivers that will be able to actually hand off to a teammate afterwards, so perhaps he might be able to give a bit more of an effort into this first part of the race. But having said that, he's got to look after the car for the teammate, because there's nothing worse in endurance racing than jumping into a car that has just a little bit of damage and the steering wheel just isn't quite straight, the car isn't quite at 100%. It's very easy to make a mistake, so a lot of the drivers will be driving with a fair bit of caution right at these first few opening laps.
Yeah, British start nonetheless, but the battle is still very, very tight at this point. It's a battle, I presume, for 4th place, but the excitement... Oh, the BMW, Iqbal Suji goes along the inside of the bus stop, tries to make that move work on Liao. Well, I think it has become a 4-way battle pack right now. Now, Iqbal Suji on the inside of the exit there, slightly going to be side by side along almost with where Afiq Farid is. So Iqbal will try to go along the move, go for a move along the outside of La Source, but Afiq still manages to cover his position along the inside of La Source, and with Jaden Liao in the LOR Ferrari. He's also definitely trying hard to defend his position indeed, but he has slid down one place, I think, with ceding that position to the BMW of Iqbal Suji. We do also have Widagdo in 7th in the Lexus, who also wants the size of this pie. That's the BMW of Iqbal, who has gone a little wide along the exit of Radion, but race still goes on nonetheless. Widagdo goes along the inside of the Camel Straight, and so does Suji go defensive, and that almost became a 3-wide, but fortunately it didn't become a 3-wide entry into Lacombe chicane there. Afiq Farid still leads this pack. Oh, we do have yet another driver. That seems to probably be Lacabra. Oh, both drivers, Lacabra and Widagdo, come into contact, and that would kind of throw a spanner in the works of Widagdo's efforts there. So Jaden Liao continues to sit in 6th with Iqbal Suji in 5th. So very quickly this battle has spiced up for 1 lap and has died down instantly.
I was about to say that it's amazing that these guys have been able to battle for that long without making any contact, but luckily I held my tongue there just in a second. But in any case, it looks like Iqbal Suji managing to get himself up to 5th position. He's in an advantageous place. He's following Afiq Farid around, and we've seen how quick he's been over the course of the previous races there. He's managed to get himself up to 4th position there. Shazwan Shafiq managing to get himself up into 3rd place. Jaden Liao and Claudius Widagdo in 6th and 7th places. They're still lucky to be in those positions, still living to fight another day. Oh, sorry, I do apologize. Widagdo was actually in 10th place. Alhambra was the driver in the Ferrari that actually managed to survive that altercation at the best. But it does mean that the positions are still chopping and changing. Big sideways moment there from Iqbal Suji. He is definitely believing in the 4-wheel drive system that car does not have. But no, he's safe as the Bank of England when it comes to catching slides coming out of corners. But of course, it's still a very high-risk driving strategy this early on in the race.
Suji along the inside of La Source. Yeah, great job, Max. Great job, great move there.
Don't you just hate it when an overtaking maneuver ends right at the end of the sentence? It's almost like Afiq and Iqbal heard this because they immediately swapped positions back. Thanks, man. Thanks, guys. But great minds think alike. I'll let you take this one.
Yeah. All right, side by side down the Camel Straight. Iqbal has managed to edge himself ahead of Afiq Farid for 4th place along the Camel Straight and into the entry into Lacombe. So great move by Iqbal all the way from the start of La Source up the hill and onto this series of corners to make that move work. So Afiq is now coming under even more pressure from Jaden Liao in 6th position. So some battling would ensue at this point down into this Brussels hairpin. This is in fact it can be a 1st or 2nd gear hairpin. Don't let the looks deceive you. It is actually quite an off-camera corner. So Jaden looks absolutely exceptionally fast today. I think he's going to have a shot at perhaps going for a move along the inside of Afiq Farid some corners later. So Jaden's job now is to hang on as close as possible to Afiq to see if he's able to take advantage of this 2nd sector of the circuit where you can make overtaking moves work. This is where the drivers will have to stage some of their overtaking moves before then coming upon Paul Frere a few corners later to then perhaps go for an overtaking shot along the outside. Jaden Liao continues to sit behind Afiq Farid, and the gap between them sits at about 0.4 of a second, so it is a very reasonable gap that the drivers are keeping with each other. We have a look at Zeth Yuen, who is up in 2nd in the Royal BMW M4. So Zeth has closed the gap with Taufik indeed, so that's absolutely amazing stuff Indeed, Taufik, going defensive with his racing line, still holds on to his race lead, but the gap has now slightly reduced to 0.3 and 0.2, 0.1 of a second. So Zethuan goes along the outside of La Sauce, and Taufik just sees the position right away. Well, that's a very quick transfer of position indeed. So we have a new race leader right now, Zethuan, on the race lead.
Yeah, looking at the lap times, the last lap times there, Zethuan managing a 2:24. He is absolutely flying right now. It looked to be as if Taufik might have had to slow down a little bit on that last lap, so he perhaps ceded the position just to try and get both drivers in clear air. Again, both of these drivers, a lot of experience between the two of them. They know it's going to be a long race, and they know that if they battle, they are going to slow each other down. So perhaps a little bit of tactics in play there, a little bit of driving with your head as opposed to your heart. Meanwhile, Aiden Tan is using a lot of head and a lot of heart to get himself in position there through Lecom. Beautiful maneuver there, and it's all about just getting your braking absolutely right. You cannot brake as late as you can on the racing line through there, but you can still get yourself in a geometrically perfect position to overtake someone if you can carry the speed to the apex. So that's a beautiful bit of driving there from Aiden Tan. He was further up on the leaders there, but now he's down in 7th position and fighting his way back up. In the meantime, Shazwan Shafiq has managed to catch up to Taufik. I'm wondering if Moiden Taufik has an issue of some sort, or perhaps he might be struggling with the car setup a little bit, because he is uncharacteristically a little bit slower than he was before. He's doing 2:29s on the previous lap there. Shazwan Shafiq doing a 2:27 in reply. So Shazwan definitely catching up quite a bit there. And of course he has Afik Farid, in tow. Good grief, if I can get my words right. And we've only just started the race. But Shazwan Shafiq
we just started the year.
Yep. A little bit rusty there. Shazwan Shafiq there going a little bit wide, and it looks like he ceded position there to Afik Farid, who's about to go on the attack, and Afik going defensive into the final chicane. Perhaps I'm a little bit old school, but I still call it the bus stop chicane. It's really just the final chicane there, but it looks like a couple of drivers actually going into the pits. Shazwan Shafiq heading into the pits there, and a couple of other drivers. Taufik also into the pits. Perhaps they have a little bit of an issue, a technical issue, a little bit of damage. The classic iRacing thing would be the floor damage that we used to get a lot of in endurance racing, and perhaps they just had a little bit of an issue, and they're going to take their pits right now. We suspect, having talked to Ryan Lim and Brendan Chong the other day, they suspect having a 2 to 3 stop race. And it's really going to come down to the conditions. It's going to come down to whether, about basically what the weather's going to do. Are we going to have lots of stop and start rain? Are we going to need to change from one compound of tire to another? So it's going to be difficult to predict, but if the conditions stay as they are, it is probably a 2-stop race.
I think some of the drivers might be pitting to change to dry tires. That's my guess, because the track is dry. The track is drying up quite quickly at this moment. So that's going to be quite a challenging phase for some of the drivers. Certainly with some of the guys out here who might still be on wets, they'll probably have to pit if they need to change their tires. At the moment, this battle pack here being bounded by Aiden Tan in 5th with Lakambra in 3rd. So Afik Farid going for it indeed along the outside, and takes that position right away away from Lakambra there. So Lakambra lost down by 2 positions, now possibly down to 5th position at this part of the circuit. Afik Farid will lead this battle pack as they come upon the halfway point of another lap here at Spa. So this fast right-hander curve Polfre, this is one of the corners where it is all about optimizing the exit speed and getting a good run down here all the way down into Blanchemont. There's some side-by-side overtaking action there just right behind in the background. It seems like Jaden Liao and Lakambra possibly, they're battling over there. We've also got an Aiden Tan who's gone for a move outside Hafid Farid, and almost a run wide into the exit of the bus stop chicane there. But things are still safe as they are at this moment. They're coming around the start-finish line again, and we might have an update of positions. Hafid Farid up to third, Aiden Tan in fourth, and Lacambra and Jaden Liao there. They were the ones fighting for position all these few corners, and they're also hanging around in fifth and sixth position.
Yeah, the pace is definitely changing quite a bit. We're seeing seconds of difference in lap time with a lot of the drivers there. And this is the challenging part about endurance racing at Spa. When the weather is changeable, it's very, very difficult to get the one thing that you need so desperately in endurance racing, and that's rhythm. Right now, Iqbal Suji has managed to get a 2-minute and 20-second lap time, and Zethuan also managing a 2-minute 20-second lap time right now. So the pace is varying quite a bit. The battle that we're seeing right now averages at around 222 to 224 at the moment there. Aiden Tan definitely stretching his legs out just a little bit. Lacambra getting a little bit more into the thicker things there. Jainul Liao behind him, Hafid Farid ahead of him. He's definitely in good company when it comes to that, but this has kind of made the race quite interesting because the drivers are sort of out of rhythm, out of sequence, a little bit uncomfortable. They're having to drive a little bit on instinct, and it's very hard to know what would be the best plan of action to not only keep the car going, keep the car alive, but also not cede too many positions, not lose too much time there. As you can see, they're getting very sporty into the left-hander here. The car's dancing around and through the right there. It's very difficult to get on the throttle. The temptation is to get on the throttle early, but even with traction control, that could be a mistake. These cars will spin, even with traction control turned on. And that's before you take into account that the top drivers that we're seeing right now will be running as little traction control as possible, usually on setting 1 or setting 2. So there's a lot of slip that could be happening towards the rear of the car there. Of course, as the car wears in, especially in ACC, you could up the setting a little bit and just get a little bit of extra assistance throughout the course of the stint. But generally speaking, the quickest way to drive these cars, especially with the setups that they're running nowadays, is to run them right with as little driver aids as possible. But of course, that could bite you in the rear end if you get it a little bit wrong there. Speaking of someone getting it a little bit right, Jaden Liao, beautiful bit of overtaking there, managing to get that position for Lacambra. Will Lacambra be able to respond, going side by side into the bottom of the hill here? That's Eau Rouge, and right at the top there, that's Radion actually, to quote a certain Mr. Brundle, coming up towards the top of the straight there. And it looks like Lacambra just about managing to keep himself up ahead and actually gain quite a lot of position there, quite a lot of gap. And meanwhile, that gives Brendan Chong a opportunity to try and get past Jaden Liao. This would be absolutely fantastic if he could do that, pushing the car very hard indeed, really feeding the power through there and coming down towards the hairpin here. It's very tricky getting the braking right through this sector, and it really sorts out the men from the boys, this section of track, because as you're going downhill, the track isn't perfectly smooth. The turn-in point can be a little bit different depending on what car you're driving. If it's a front-engine car or a rear-engine car, and it's very tricky corner to try and get the car working through, especially in these changeable conditions.
Yeah, indeed, the conditions are ever so changing ever so vastly for the drivers, especially within this 3-hour program that the drivers are in. Brendan Chong in 7th at the moment in his very nicely presented sky blue Ferrari 296. We're now having a look at Jaden Liao, who's in 6th position, and he's trying to close his gap with Lacambra up in 5th. So this is the likeliest of overtakes that may happen along the exit of Paul Frere here, side by side down this long, almost bent straight, kind of straight here at the 3rd sector of Spa. Side by side down into Blanchimont. Indeed, someone's got a lift here. Oh, bang! Side by side, and Jaden Liao spears into the barriers but manages to save his car, and he comes right in the way of oncoming traffic. So that's some dangerous altercations there. Brendan Chong manages to catch up with Jaden Liao due to that incident. And wow, what a move!
Yeah, absolutely frightening stuff indeed, and that probably got Brendan and Ryan very scared coming down towards that section. You don't really see the accidents that happen at the exit of Blanchimont until you're virtually in the middle of the corner there. So good job for those guys in avoiding the mistakes. A good job to Jaden. I haven't seen someone actually bounce off the barriers there in ACC and keep the car in position. So I'm not sure if that's some sort of a record through there. Meanwhile, Ryan Lim looking very sporty indeed, getting it a little bit crossed up, going to the top of the hill there, getting onto the Camel Straight, still managing to get a good tow. Will we see an overtaking maneuver coming down towards the next corner there, hard on the brakes, and he manages to slide the car in, but he's gone too fast, outbraked himself there, and he's given up 2 positions there. Well, just the one actually. The Claudius's Lexus getting a little bit crossed up, trying to avoid that incident. So that's a big driving mistake there from Ryan, and it's quite rare to see it do mistakes like that. He has quite a lot of experience in ACC, so I'm not sure if the conditions are just getting to them, or if it's just really that difficult to overtake at the end of the straight right now. Jin Liao in 6th position there, trying to recover from that position. Again, I've never seen someone bounce off the barrier and keep the car going this quickly. I would be incredibly surprised if the car was still in one piece and still working well.
Well, one thing for sure, if this happened on iRacing, I think the engine would have blown by now, and he'd be spending 50 minutes in the pits for repairs. But oh well, it's great that Jaden is still out racing, so that's still fine, and he's still right on the rear bumper of Lacambra there. So certainly nothing has changed. He's still very keen on an overtaking move. So we'll see how this turns out. Blanchimont, once again, the only difference being they're not side by side right now. A very wise decision if you ask me. Onto the exit of Blanchimont, and in preparation for braking zone into the bus stop, Jaden Liao goes to the outside of the entry into the bus stop. Lacambra has the inside, but Liao isn't really able to make the leap on Lacambra and continues to sit and wait for any other opportunities that will come up later on. A full throttle run down here into La Source. Lacambra closes the outside line for an ideal entry into La Source. And Jaden, well, sort of going for an inside exit there along the exit of La Source, but continues to sit in the slipstream of Lacambra down into Il Rouge and up the hill into Radia. Well, in the sim, you don't really see the gradient for yourself unless you actually experience it in real life, as some drivers might have been able to. So obviously the kind of forces that it exerts on you, especially the Z-axis, is pretty intense. So that was the top speed run down the Camel Straight. We do have a Lacambra who is a little bit loose there along the exit. I think really the track conditions are changing way too fast and the drivers may not be able to keep up. So, well, an ideal opportunity for Jaden to go along the outside of Lacambra there and into the hairpin. Overtaking move along the outside. Oh, banging wheels there. Almost unsettled Jaden Liao, but Jaden makes this move work and onto this no-name left-hander where he has the positional advantage. Full throttle down. Oh, it gets spun out on the exit of the no-name corner, and that will cause him to lose a couple of positions. And that's an unfortunate end to what had been a good battle for a lap long between Liao and Lacambra.
Your heart has to go out to Jaden Liao. It seems to all be going wrong for him right at this moment. But if there's anybody who could bounce back for LOR Ascent, it's going to be him. He's got a lot of experience, and I'm sure he can gather himself back up again. We're having a look at Isan Liao, who's getting closer and closer to Haziq Aslan right now. Ooh, very, very tight through the inside there. I'm not sure if that was for position. I believe that might have been a lapped vehicle. We'll get confirmation for that later on, but Isan Liao in what must be quite a beautiful livery. I know I've mentioned this a couple of rounds already, but that Petronas livery is quite fetching on that little Porsche. But there we go, Isan Liao managing to get himself up into 10th position, so he's scoring points right now if things keep going at the rate they are. But the thing is, the conditions are changing so much, as you mentioned there earlier, and you can see different drivers getting caught out at different times. I don't think you can actually just get into a rhythm and start driving sort of with your subconscious right now. It really is fighting every single step of the way. And you have to spare a thought to the solo drivers there. This probably is the hardest conditions to try and do anything. I noticed on the track temperature a couple of laps ago it was 20 or 21 degrees Celsius. Now it's dropped down to 18. So things are changing quite rapidly out there. Brendan Chung slowly trying to catch up against Ryan Lim. Are we going to see yet more fun for these two drivers? They know each other quite well, but definitely know they've lost when it comes to the actual racing out on track. I think these guys actually race each other harder than they race most of the rest of the field. So it's always entertaining to see them fight for it. And it looks like Lacambra had a little bit of a sideways moment. We saw him very loose there a couple of laps back. So again, I'm not too sure if there's any sort of... There might be a little bit of an issue at the top part of the track there, but towards the rest of the track it seems like everyone is doing okay in terms of grip. I say okay, definitely not perfect. Ryan Lim getting very sporty coming in towards Puon. Is he going to try and make it around the outside? That is a wonderful bit of driving there. Lacambra just about managing to save that slide. That's about the last place on the planet you want to see that amount of oversteer. Brilliant bit of driving from everyone all around, but Lacambra again just drops it a little bit there. In fact, I'm starting to think he might not be on the right tires. Brendan Chong managing to put himself up into 6th place, and the chase for Brendan Chong to try and catch Lim in 5th place resumes.
Yeah, I was just about to say, some drivers seem to be struggling with grip much more than other drivers, so might be worth checking your tire choices there. Could make a difference. Vidugdo has managed to go on a recovery drive back to 8th position, and he's now trying to close his gap with Lacambra indeed. So that's a great thing to see indeed. Vidugdo on a recovery drive along the final stretch here, up, which then comes into this braking zone into the bus stop. Oh, that is at Lacambra, who's very close to Brendan Chong. So we could have a potential battle group happening at this very point. Vidugdo currently in 8th. He's just set, within a close margin behind. Tries to go for a move along the inside of La Source. Doesn't seem, it wasn't going to work right there at the moment. So we now have a full throttle segment from here all the way down to the bottom of, all the way down to Ile Rouge, and then up the hill into La Source. So in the wet, you can't really go full throttle through Radion, so that's quite a problem for some of the drivers. Otherwise, you might be able to do that. So slipstream run here, down in the Camel Straight. Along the Camel Straight, side by side between Lacambra and Vidugdo. Let's see who emerges out of this ahead. So Lacambra continues to hold his position, and Vidugdo still sits in 8th position. So this is a very tight battle indeed at this rather tricky section of the circuit, as they come upon the even trickier section of this Spa circuit here. Brussels hairpin right-hander. The battle still ensues.
Absolutely, and I have to say, through Lacambra was all over the track trying to keep that Ferrari going in a straight line. The Ferrari looking a bit more like a Stratos than it does a GT3 race car. Claudius trying to get a little bit sporty coming in to Buon, trying to hold the line there. Both drivers slipping and sliding around. And looks like Claudius managing to keep himself in the middle there. And it looks like Vidugdo has the speed advantage coming into this corner, but it's very difficult there. Ooh, they touch again. This is looking a little bit more like the Spa 24 Hours back in the 90s when it used to be for super touring cars as opposed to GT cars. There are quite a lot of contact today, and I don't think that's so much the driver's fault. They're not actually trying to go for contact in racing here, because obviously they're trying to keep the cars in one position. It's just that slippery. They're just not finding... I don't think anybody actually has the perfect setup, save for perhaps Zeth and Iqbal in 1st and 2nd place. Everyone else seems to be struggling, at least in some sections, if not others, to keep their cars going in a straight line. Isan Lau and Haziq Aslan, this was a battle that almost brewed earlier on. We're going to see if Isan can actually catch back up. Now, interestingly enough, I've got a little bit of a theory, and it's sort of a little bit unsubstantiated, but I have a theory that around Spa, the worse the conditions get, the better the Porsche is to drive, because it does have that rear engine layout. The engine is in fact behind the rear axle. There's a lot of traction in these cars, especially in poor weather conditions. Fun fact, the first event that a Porsche 911 ever won was the Monte Carlo Rally. So Porsches very successful rally cars for many, many years. I don't think you'd take a modern-day GT3 car up the snowy Alps right now, right nowadays, especially the Monte Carlo rally we just had. But in any case, Eason doing very well in this car. A little bit slow through the first sector there. I'm guessing he's probably set that car up to be easier to drive as opposed to trying to chase a lap time. And that's another thing as well that I've noticed, especially in ACC, is that the setups make a huge difference to how the car feels. Now, for the guys like Zeth, Afik Farid, Iqbal Suji, and a few of the other faster drivers out there, Ryan Lim as well, Dagdo, and many, many more, they can drive a nervous car. That's sort of what sets them apart in the world of ACC. They can put up with the car being a little bit nervous. They just sort of correct it based on their instincts and carry on. But for a lot of other drivers, they do need the car to hook up and just be nice and smooth to drive. That sort of suits their driving style a little bit better. So this might be one of those races where the faster setups, the sort of esports spec setups, might not work out so well for a lot of drivers.
Yeah, I think it is termed esports setups for a reason, and it would definitely cater to some of the drivers who are more comfortable with an unstable setup. Certainly those drivers who are more towards the pointy end of the competitive spectrum, they do want the most out of the car, and I think having an element of instability is what makes the whole difference. But of course, at a track like Spa, you want a car that leans towards stability, because it is a track that can unsettle your car if you're not careful. And I think it's also it's also worth mentioning that, you know, with this rapidly changing weather situations, you can only go that far with, you know, how much you can push out of the car setup. You still have to account for the stability of the car indeed. Also, given that this is quite a long race and not a 45-minute sprint. We are having a look at Brendan Chong, I believe, once again. No, that's Claudius Viducto, who just recently, I believe, made a move ahead of Brendan Chong. So that was a great overtaking attempt if it had indeed happened. Viducto currently in 6th position ahead of Brendan Chong in 7th, down along the Camel Straight and into the Lacombe chicane. Well, great bit of track here, a bit of uphill and downhill indeed. What's interesting is, you know, with the kind of elevation changes you have at Spa, you can indeed, at the highest point of the track, you can kind of just look over your shoulder if you're at the right position, and you can kind of see the rest of the track that's so much further below. And that's what makes the Spa so interesting indeed.
Yes, absolutely. It's hard to sort of put into words how three-dimensional this track is, and how even in the quote-unquote boring races, interesting things always happen around here. This is by no means a boring race that we're watching right now, but just as a curiosity, in 16th position there, Shazwan Shafiq, who was further up. I believe he was one of the drivers that went in for a bit of repairs, which is why he's a little bit further behind than where he normally would be. But he is definitely going quite quickly. In fact, he's got the fastest lap of the race at a 2:19.1. And Amar, who's behind him, did a 2:19.9. So that is absolutely flying for drivers out on track right now. Perhaps they have decided to go for a different tyre to the rest of the field, and it's definitely reaping the rewards right now. This is going to be a tactical race just as much as it is going to be a driving race. It's not just about what tyres are the best, but when do you switch to the faster tyre? Be it going from dries to wets or wets to dries. It's such a complicated sort of calculation that you have to make. Some drivers can drive a slick deeper into the rain than others, and some drivers can conversely keep a wet weather tyre alive. Beautiful beautiful overtaking maneuver there. I believe that is from Lacambra. Alonso Marcos Lacambra managing to make quite a nice overtaking maneuver there on Hazi Aslan. A lot of drivers choosing to make their moves at the hairpin there at the end of the lap. Of course, we have the start and finish line further ahead than we do during a Grand Prix weekend, but that's actually quite a nice maneuver there. Very textbook for La Sauce.
God, that's a great send into La Sauce. Definitely great overtaking move indeed, and that set Lacambra up another position ahead of Brendan Chong. So certainly Brendan also doing quite a good job himself to hold his ground as much as possible. Well, we did have a battle between Brendan and Ryan Lim earlier on, but right now between them sits two additional drivers. So things are spicing up at this part of the grid indeed. Well, we've just passed the first half an hour of the race, but we've still got 150 minutes of racing to go, so still plenty of ways to go for drivers. So I think in an endurance race like this, it is worth noting that sometimes you don't have to push that hard for position. In an endurance race, you have plenty of time to strategize yourself and to most importantly, outlast the drivers around you. So hopefully drivers can remain pointed at the right on the right directions, facing the right side up as they take on what Spa still has to offer in the next 150 minutes. Brendan Chong continues to ride along here at Paul Frere, along the exit of Paul Frere, and on this run down to Blanchimont. This would seem to be the closest we have to a battle at this part of the grid at this moment, because I think the rest of the drivers have all started to kind of settle into their positions rather comfortably.
Indeed, it looks to be the case. Brendan Chong closing up a little bit on Lacambra, but again, not quite closing fast enough. But as you said, there's plenty of time. This is where the tactical drivers really come into their own. In a 45-minute sprint, you really need to take the first potential opportunity to overtake. And even in a Grand Prix, you've only got 2 or 3 attempts when you're racing someone else. But in an endurance race, especially something 3 hours long, basically effectively a 3-stint race for these cars, you do have the sort of option of studying your opponent, following behind, learning from the opponents, and trying to get around the corners there. We're having a quick look at the comment sections there. And KLK there, does this Spa come with cucumbers? And I believe that is yourself, comes with hot spring.
Yeah, that is.
And also, commentator, what is your favorite food? What is your favorite food, Rehan?
It changes based on the season. At present, right now, I have a craving for Malaysian nasi lemak, specifically the one in Johor. So yeah. For the month, that's my favorite. But otherwise I fancy myself Mediterranean food always. Southern European or Middle Eastern food. That's my favorite kind of food. How about you, Max? What's your favorite food?
Yeah, mine changes every day. I can't make my mind up. Although I do tend to sort of, again, have a little bit more of a Mediterranean diet. I have fallen a little bit off the wagon last year, so I'm trying to get back onto the wagon right now. But yeah, anything that's sort of fresh and light. Occasionally interspersed with the guilty trips, runs to McDonald's. But also local food. I'm kind of a northern guy when it comes to Malaysian cuisine. If you know, you know. So your asam laksas and your Penang Hokkien Mee and stuff like that. So pretty awesome stuff.
Penang Hokkien Mee, that's nice. But we always have an age-old battle or age-old argument of what's the correct Hokkien Mee. Whether it's Penang or Klang Valley or Singapore Hokkien Mee, because all of them are all ever so slightly different. Completely different, not slightly. Completely, yeah.
I think both, speaking as someone living in the Klang Valley, I'm pretty sure that both the Singaporeans and the Penangites would come down here and go, what on earth is this stuff?
Sometimes I wonder too.
Yeah. But I promise it's quite good. Even if you reject it being called Hokkien Mee, it is actually quite good stuff. Haziq Aslan there, Tech 1 Racing in 9th position, beautiful livery. I don't know what it is. I'm a sucker for the old Orange Arrows livery, so anytime I see an orange and black livery, it sort of piques my interest. Even the old G-Drive Lamont cars, it sort of look quite mean. Coming down towards,
nice.
Yeah, really well. Coming down towards the braking zone here, it looks like he's sort of snuck up a little bit on Lacambra, who's still trying to sneak up onto Brendan Chong up ahead there. This group of cars are beginning to close up. We might start seeing something interesting. Occasionally, during the course of an endurance race, we as commentators sometimes feel like we're the guys with the stick poking the drivers. Come on, do something cool. But this might actually turn out to be something cool right now. In fact, Nakamba are doing lots of cool stuff all over the back of Brendan Chung. They have swapped positions a couple of times in the past. 0.3 of a second between those two drivers. That could be an overtaking maneuver towards the end of the lap here. Let's see how it goes. Aslan dropping back a little bit there, and looks like that's giving the opportunity to Eason Lowe. So we could have anything from a 2 to a 4 to a 6 car battle, depending on how all of this shakes up. And the beauty of this is there's so much time for these stories to unfold through the course of the race.
Speaking of G-Drive, I think we might come towards the point of the race where we can start to talk a little bit about endurance history. I think it's a Russian endurance racing team when they were racing in WEC, I was quite a big fan of. Of course, one of the drivers, I believe, Ye Fei raced with them before at one point. Unfortunately, they're not active in international motorsports anymore due to reasons. But those were interesting times. He's a low intent, and it's giving the orange and black Lexus of Haziq Aslan a run for his money.
Absolutely, and I have to say the livery game this time around has been awesome. For the drivers who have actually created their own livery. Ooh, big twitch there. It looks like that's given Eason Lowe the opportunity to make that overtaking maneuver stick. He's been trying for quite some time. We'll have a look at how they do across the line there. Eason Lowe claiming 8th position, Haziq Aslan in 9th place. But I don't think that's the end of it, because Eason's gone very, very wide indeed. Tech 1 Racing livery, incidentally, if you guys are wondering at home. But it looks like Haziq Aslan has to give second best, because Eason Lowe getting a little bit crossed up towards Radion, but I think Haziq Aslan had to check up a little bit as well. 0.5 of a second, they're still in the danger zone right now. That's kind of interesting. I'm quite surprised, to be honest with you, as to how close some of these drivers still are. Perhaps they're thinking the same way, they're racing the same way as guys in NASCAR used to say. You sort of want to race like the guy ahead of you, so you end up halfway through the Coke 600 sort of racing the same way, although I don't think Haziq Aslan wants to do what Eason just did there. Good bit of driving from Eason to keep that car going in a straight line. If you get a Porsche crossed up that much, be it a classic 1973 Carrera 2.7 or a brand new GT3 car, it's very hard to catch a Porsche going that sideways. Eason Lowe managed to catch it, and he's still in the race, but he had to concede the position there to Haziq Aslan. It's almost like a chess race for those guys. Meanwhile, in 13th position, I think that's Taufik perhaps just coming out of the pits. He was further towards the front of the field. I'm going to think or perhaps suggest that he has been in the pits there. In any case, he's done a 2:18.835, so whatever he's done in the intermediate time, he's down in 13th position, but he's got a very pacey car right now, and he's making light work of some of the drivers around him.
Yeah, certainly. So Taufik is, he's found himself in 12th place now. I'm not exactly certain what might have transpired. Maybe he went into the pits to change tires. But he is now ahead of Shazwan Shafiq, would appear, and they might seem to be on for an overtaking. No, I don't know if that's Shazwan Shafiq behind. We'll just have to wait and see the name tag. But Taufik... No, I think that's Lu that's behind Taufik. So this is a potential battle for 12th position unfolding at this part of the circuit. Taufik going for a full throttle run down the straight, leads up to Blanchimont. Full throttle indeed, but in the rain you might have to lift a little bit here. You can't go full throttle here, or you spin out into the wall. And then onto a hard braking zone into the bus stop chicane. Taufik continues to sit in 12th position, with Lu just not too far behind. And we do have quite a train behind there of some drivers who are going into the pits. So I think it would seem that as we thought the track might have dried up earlier on, it seems like the rain is back again and it's starting to wet things up a bit. So those drivers who have swapped to dry tires will probably have to switch to wet again. But those drivers who kept with their wet tires can still remain with their wet tires.
Yeah, it's absolutely impossible to predict what is actually going to be the fastest tire out there at any one point in time. I think you're going to see quite a few 4 and 5 stop races out there. Just having a look at the chat there, Kamchuk saying, "Let's go, it's raining." And indeed, it has in fact started raining again. And Mohammed Tahir out there just giving a little bit of advice, pit guys. I think it's going to get a little bit slippy out there. Zethuan still in the lead there with 2 hours and 14 minutes still left on the clock. Iqbal Suji still in second place. Aidan Van third. Afif Farid in fourth. Ryan Lim in fifth. And Claudius Rigdado in sixth position right now. And it looks like the front runners have managed to sort of spread themselves out there a little bit safe for now. But again, the weather is the big wild card here. One wrong pit call is all it takes for Zeth, Iqbal and Aiden to lose their positions in the podium placings, and for everyone else it's an opportunity to leapfrog drivers as well. Shazwan Shafiq, they're getting very close to Lou up ahead. In fact, he's gone right past, and it looks like he's also managed to figure out how to get his car hooked up just a little bit better than the rest of them. But you can see there Lou struggling through the high-speed corners, and that's sort of the first signs of a car losing grip in these changing conditions. The high-speed corners are where the tires really get worked the hardest in terms of lateral grip, that is side to side, whereas the slow-speed corners tends to be longitudinal grip, or traction as we would say, basically the front to back level of grip. So as you can see there, Jaden Liao also starting to wake up a little bit, 0.3 of a second behind Adam Harris. Will we see an overtaking maneuver coming around here? Ooh, little bit wide there. Jaden Liao has been everywhere on the leaderboard right now. I think he's on a personal mission to visit every single spot on the, on the timing tower on his way towards the end of the race. But you know what? Sometimes you have those races where everything's quite boring, and sometimes you have one of those races that you'll tell your grandchildren in about 15, 20 years' time. He's gone very wide there. Adam Harris struggling for grip, and that's given Jaden the chance to overtake. He's managed to make that overtaking maneuver stick, and the LOR car is up into 18th place. Remember, Jaden Liao will have an opportunity to hand over to his teammate perhaps wishing that he will hand over at a point in time where the weather has stabilized a little bit, although this is Spa-Francorchamps, so ACC does have a habit of following, with the randomizer the way it is. ACC does tend to follow the real-life weather patterns, and around Spa the real-life weather patterns is sort of schizophrenic.
Yes. That would absolutely seem to be the case in that part of the world. So this is Pao in 18th with another Hoyoverse. I think I recall seeing Raiden Shogun's car is actually a Hoyoverse paint scheme. So this is another one Hoyoverse, which is what game is that? Is that? I can't exactly see what game it is, but it's one of Hoyoverse's games, I would imagine. Another almost Itasha car, but not as Itasha yet. Just with some anime on the doors. Yes, Goth Itasha.
Or as one of the mechanics that used to work for me told me when he first saw a Natasha race car, I believe he saw the Good Smile race car, and he sort of very sort of quietly wandered over to me and said, "I have no idea what's going on, but that girl looks cute in the car."
Well, that's the first impression that everyone gets with Hatsune Miku cars.
Yeah, and it's been an absolutely interesting sort of partnership. You'd never think that sort of a virtual idol would be a natural fit for a racing team. But they made it work, and it's been great for both parties. More people looking at Hatsune Miku merchandise, and a lot more people paying attention to Good Smile Racing, and sort of an inbuilt fan base there. So it's absolutely fascinating. Sometimes the weirdest sponsorship deals work. I believe Tide was one of the best sponsors, the longest running sponsors in NASCAR for a great many years, a couple of decades, I believe. And they had Tide sponsoring race cars, and I think they still do in NASCAR on occasion. But you wouldn't think laundry detergent would be a natural fit for a racing team. But I have to say, I think the livery helped on that one.
Now let me just have a quick look at the Tide NASCAR. Let's see if it's interesting. Well, NASCAR is another series where you have all kinds of interesting sponsorship combinations. As we have an overtaking attempt here, a battle right here between, I would imagine, Jaden Liao and Pao. So both drivers are going at it with each other. Now I'm just having a look at the Tide NASCAR. I tell you, from first impression, I would think this is a cereal brand or some energy chocolate brand, and not the laundry detergent.
Yeah. And again, we're starting to
peanuts.
Yeah, and again, I think we're starting to see a little bit of a pattern with me. I tend to like cars that have orange on them. Not even my favorite color, but it must be up there. Or maybe those sort of things just change. Ooh, Jaden Liao getting very sporty coming up towards the final corner here. Look, this corner is deceptively difficult because it dips towards the apex. It's sort of slightly banked at the apex there, but then it flattens out towards the exit. So if you don't quite get your drive right, you might end up in this situation. Kelvin Powell and Jaden Liao going side by side through Eau Rouge. Who's going to lift first? They just about managed to squeeze through Radion, and that, I have to say, is very impressive driving from both drivers, because as a lot of you guys who have probably driven in sim races or even in Gran Turismo will tell you, going side by side through there is really rather frightening.
Oh, there was some balls to the wall driving by both drivers, making that move work. I certainly would have backed off before the entry into Eau Rouge, so well, certainly hats off to those drivers. We're now with Ethan Lowe in 8 in the Porsche once again. Max, if you like orange race cars, I think you'll like if Hooters sponsored a NASCAR.
Yeah, actually they did. It was Alan Kulwicki won his championship in a Hooters branded car, and that was a fascinating story. If you guys ever have a chance to dive down a Wikipedia rabbit hole, I can recommend that one. And also a creator by the name of Slapshoes did a fantastic video on Alan Kulwicki. He won the 1992 NASCAR Cup Championship as an owner-driver. So he effectively owned his own cars, ran his own team, and managed to do it. And he did it in a car that was nicknamed the Underbird for the final round of the season. And that race where he won the championship has long been known as the sort of the nexus point of all of NASCAR history. And the joke goes that any story in NASCAR has something to do with the 1992 Atlanta Hooters 500. The final round of the championship in that season, for some reason, just has so many different storylines coming together. I believe it was the last race of Richard Petty, the first race of Jeff Gordon, Alan Kulwicki winning the championship as an owner driver with much less resources than the Junior Johnson team that was running, that he was racing up against. They won. The race was decided on bonus points, believe it or not, the championship of who led the most laps. And in fact, it wasn't Kulwicki's to win, but unfortunately, one other driver managed to sneak through one of the yellow flag sections and lead a single lap to deny the other driver, which I believe, although I could get this wrong, I think it was Bill Miller, although it could be wrong, but he was denied the championship by a driver leading one extra lap, which meant that Alan Kulwicki had the bonus points for the most laps led, which led him to the championship, his closest championship in NASCAR history. So that's probably not the answer you were expecting when it comes to Hooters sponsoring a NASCAR stock car, but I do happen to be a bit of a Kulwicki fan. He's one of the last guys who engineered himself when racing. He was effectively his own crew chief. So I don't think we've seen anyone like that since.
He was his own crew chief. Wow. That's
It
great.
used, yeah,
How long does he do that?
it used to be a lot more common back in the days of
Oh,
the sort of the pre-computer era, where really you just had someone on the pit wall doing a few calculations for you in terms of fuel burn, and you made all the decisions while racing. And I think a lot of sim racers might actually sort of see something in common with that, because most of us, even at the top end, unless we're really at the very bleeding edge of sim racing, most of us are our own crew chiefs in effect. Sometimes we'll get a friend to come along, and I've been known to annoy a couple of drivers sort of professionally over the years when it comes to sim racing, but it's always an informal affair. But yeah, it is as if you were to enter, let's say, the NASCAR iRacing series, sort of solo with nobody backing you up, which I think is quite interesting. Obviously, he had a pit crew and he had a spotter helping him out as well. But it was definitely a very old school way of winning a championship.
oh, those are definitely interesting times to be. I think in sim racing, most of us do run solo unless you have a support team. As we have a very hungry Lexus of, Hasik Aslan, who wants to go at it along the entry into the bus stop chicane. So I think was that a move for it along the inside? Oh yes, that was a move that would be outside of the exit of the bus stop. So Isan Low continues to lead along with Hasik Aslan trailing behind, but not by much, absolutely at all. Into Lasas, oh, bumping bumpers there. Hasik Aslan absolutely wants to move on and make an overtaking move in right here. So down along this downhill into a Rouge, full throttle run down. Decent low, down to 7, and Hasik Aslan makes the overtaking move up to 6. So some brilliant moves there by Hasik Aslan to make the overtaking move work into La Sauce. Fantastic driving.
Yeah, we talk a lot sometimes when it comes to driver coaching. We talk a lot about putting your car in positions where the other driver can't see you, sort of deliberately driving into the blind spots and doing all that sort of stuff. Mostly in oval racing. We don't really talk about that so much in road racing. But not only did Hasik Aslan manage to hide himself from Isid, he managed to hide himself from our camera crew, who desperately tried to look for a shot on the car there. You couldn't have parked that car in the other car's blind spot any better if they were stationary. Brilliant bit of driving there from Hasik Aslan. And that's driving with your head, which is going to be so important in these long races. But yeah, that amused me a great deal there. Adam Harris now is in 18th position, but still going very quickly. 2:20s, that's very competitive lap times. Now 18th position, and pushing very hard to try and catch up to Kelvin Powell, who's also trying to get themselves back up towards the front of the pack. Right now, as the clock turns out to 2 hours to go, Iqbal Suji is your current race leader, although quite a few drivers are pitting at the moment, so things are a little bit jumbled up, but we'll see how that plays out. But it's an absolutely fascinating race right now, having a look at all this stuff, because just the way the race has ebbed and flowed with the weather changing all the time. It's raining right now, you can see the wipers going, and I'll tell you one thing, as a driver, I wouldn't know what to do with myself in these conditions. I'd probably end up with a 6 pit stop race.
Yeah, I think it certainly hats off to the drivers, because for a race this way, the way it is like this, is very difficult or almost impossible to plan a pit strategy, because things are always changing every other minute. So, almost bumper to bumper on the uphill up towards Ranion. So both drivers have gone off track indeed, but Adam Harith manages to hold on to his car just enough to remain ahead of Calvin Powell. So managed to save his position right there. Break into the Combe, one of the places where you have to go slower than you think. Second gear corner actually for these GT3 cars. And then a high-speed right-hander here, almost full throttle. Down this short downhill. You can still see that the track is still pretty slippery, as the drivers are still struggling for grip in some ways. Shazwan Shafiq right here behind Taufik. So Taufik has made his way back up to 10th position, so I think Taufik is doing his best to try to recover as much as he possibly can. Shazwan down in 11th. Both drivers having the same car, but I would imagine maybe slightly different setups. So we'll see how that turns out. Taufik leads Shazwan on his run down along the main stretch. Well, of course, we are now racing the endurance layout, so we are using the classic start-finish line. So that is something a bit different, something that drivers will have to get used to. We are not starting on the Grand Prix straight, so La Source is actually the last corner and not the first corner. The first corner is Il Rouge and Radion.
Yep, with 2 hours on the clock, right about now. I have to keep myself amused some way or another. Iqbal Suji is your race leader. 25 laps have been run in the race. Aiden Tan in second place. Afif Farid in third with Ryan Lim in fourth position. Brendan Chong is in fifth with Haziq Aslan in sixth place. Isan Low in seventh. Zeth Yuan in eighth. Taufik with the fastest lap of the race there in ninth position. And a couple of useful bonus points there. And Shazwan Shafiq is your man in 10th place. And we're in fact looking at Shazwan Shafiq right now, attempting to close up the gap to Taufik. Now, at the top of the screens, for all of you guys out there who might be interested in what the weather is doing, you have three boxes there. The box on the right-hand side of the top of your screen there, you'll have the weather, a weather predictor. So in 1 minute's time it's going to rain, and in 3 minutes' time it's going to really rain. The track has gone from greasy to damp, and the temperature is a balmy 9 degrees centigrade. So it's not that much warmer out there on track than it was at the Monte Carlo rally a couple of weeks back. So this could be very, very exciting indeed. And I've just heard the door open, and would you look at that? That's Prima Ice Tea who's just wandered into the studio. Hi there.
Hello, yes.
So how's traffic?
Oh, sorry, my bad.
It's alright, we'll have to shuffle across have you sit down right here at the desk there. We've had an interesting race here, and right now the conditions are, I think we can just say it's challenging lah.
Very, very cool.
Challenging is an understatement, I think.
Yeah, I definitely can see that, because I can see now the temperature is 9 degrees, 9 Celsius degrees for the track itself and the ambient weather. So it's going to be quite slippery. And then from what I can see on the weather as well, that is going to be an elevated piece of rain is coming by here to Spa. So it's going to be really, really slippery for our drivers. If they're using slicks, they should be needing to switch to wets right now, or not, chaos will happen. So I would like to see how our drivers will drive by during this very rainy weather as well.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, it was, I wouldn't say chaotic, it was very difficult for the drivers to catch their rhythm through the first hour of the race, but the weather has just gone absolutely torrential right now. You can see the dark clouds up ahead there as Shazwan is trying to catch up to Taufik up ahead. It's going to be one of those situations where I think, as I've alluded to earlier, the drivers are just going to really have to guess as to what will be the best strat. Obviously, they can feel the conditions better than we can, as Shazwan goes a little bit wide. And yeah, I mean, it's all change up and down the leaderboard. Zeth was up ahead there, and we had Iqbal Suji also doing very well, but he's just gone into the pits. You're going to see a lot of drivers cycle through now. As we mentioned earlier, the running order is a little bit jumbled up. Brendan Chong also coming into the pits there. I believe that's Ryan Lim up ahead, so that's going to be the battle of the pit stops for those two drivers. See who dares run the least amount of fuel in these conditions. But I have to say, it really is going to be almost a lottery as to who's actually going to take the win here.
Yeah, that is correct. I would say I like it that for the weather, we're not sticking to just one weather. We're mixing it up with, a bit of light rain, and then a bit of a sunshine, and then another heavy rain, and then it's a bit of a light rain as well, because it really jumbles up. It doesn't. It just shows that you're not just being fast here, but it's really up to your strategy and your luck as well on how well you navigate in real life weather situations, especially with Spa, which is also quite well known for its wet track conditions, as we've seen from F1s usually, like the Lando Norris accident, which was quite well known as well to people how dangerous Spa is, especially when you're going up to Eau Rouge, heading to Radion in wet weather conditions. So now the drivers not only they have to be fast, but at the same time as well, they need to time their pit stops well. Or maybe, as I would say, another thing that I can add in is that they have to think of the risk. Is it the rain is going to be a short while? Is it worth it for me to just pit stop to do a pit and change to wet tires, or should I just stay out with the slicks and hope that the rain doesn't last long? Because even us here, the casters here, the commentators here, we do not set the weather, so we ourselves do not know what is the weather conditions going to be like. So I would say yes, skill plays a role here, but luck and strategy plays another role here as well, and especially since they have like another 1 hour and 54 minutes left of racing to go.
Yeah, we do have a very long night for the drivers, sorry, Max.
No worries.
Certainly, I think. Well, primarily, I'll be honest. I think earlier on we were just alluding to we were just talking about it. I think even on the strategy side of things, it's going to be difficult for the drivers because no driver can plan for weather that is so randomized. So I think it really is down to how well drivers can adapt to the situation with whatever that's given to them at the current point. So strategy is just one part of the equation. It's also about maybe coming up with a setup that will work as much as possible for I'd say 80% of the conditions, and for the remaining 20% of possibilities, the drivers will hopefully adapt along the way. Be it with setup options, tire choices, or maybe even just changing your driving line. As we can see, I think it's starting to turn into nightfall. So we will probably spend an hour or so, or maybe an hour and a half under the stars and in the rain. So that's going to be very tricky for the drivers. So I think, something to watch.
Yes, I'm very, very excited for this because I don't think our drivers expected this kind of weather, nor expected this kind of time changing as well. And nighttime driving in a rainy weather is a very, very risky combo as well. The drivers, not only they have to be very careful, but if they want to maintain their lead, they have to drive fast as well. Or maybe even get, as I was saying, our drivers that went a bit tad too fast, went a bit of outside, but someone is doing an overtake opportunity here, is Chong Jin Bin, and he did it as the person in front of him overbraked himself and went out of the track, and Chong Jin Bin goes up one place before the final corner, before the second last corner just now. A very, very good drive by Chong Jin Bin, very, very well aware of his situations right there. Man, that's like what I said. Now it's nighttime and it's rainy. It's going to be a very dangerous combo. Let's see how we can see our drivers currently right now are struggling-ish to get that racing line correct, or maybe they're just trying to experiment, like where is the line that I should be following now, as I think all of them are being slightly cautious in terms of driving right now.
Yes.
Yeah, that is absolutely the case indeed. And some of the drivers have to be cautious right off the bat there. We have a few driver changes. Wilson Woon has taken over the LOR Ascent car, and Chin Jin Bin, I think, was the other driver that we saw there, Rodriguez. Quite a few drivers, I think, deciding to jump into the car now, perhaps jumping in nice and early. That's Raiden Shogun. We haven't seen much of him recently, but we did mention the livery there. We have a bit of a Natasha team going on this season, which has been quite entertaining. But just to go back to that battle, I mean, you can see the cars moving around an awful lot more. Big sideways moments and drivers trying to look for a different line. When it starts to rain really heavily, the racing lines can become the slipperiest part of the track. So in racing, we have this term known as the wet line. Some corners, you sort of have to go from the inside to the outside to the inside, almost the inverse of your usual racing line, just to try and hunt for a bit of grip, because when there's a lot of rubber out on track, that rubber tends to get a little bit slippery. So
Oh,
you'd think that it's very slippery, and as I was just mentioning there, big moment for one of the cars there, just behind Shogun. In fact, that might have been Shazwan, in fact, which would be a pity because he was doing so well trying to keep the car up in the top 10, but unfortunately he's, I think, actually no, that might have been one of the Ferraris in 15th, 16th position, but yeah, it's really frightening right now seeing some of the cars out there, and of course this is, speaking from an endurance racing perspective, this has to be the worst possible conditions, because not only do you have a lack of visibility from it being dark out there, and Spa, of course, being still a very traditionally lit circuit, only the start-finish line is slightly lit, and maybe a couple of other incidental lights, but otherwise it is dark. And when it's raining, you have the spray from the car up ahead. So we're riding on board right now with rain. Oh, a big crash right now there. I was just about to mention the spray that gets kicked up, which sort of flashes the headlights back towards you. But as I was about to mention that, another car has gone off the track, and it looks like it was perhaps a back marker, although it could be mistaken there. But Raiden Shogun trying to catch up to Adam Harith. And that's frightening stuff indeed. I think this is truly the most difficult conditions you can drive a car around Spa.
definitely. So far, everyone is keeping it. I would say everyone's trying to keep it as careful as they can be. Definitely, I would say if we can see the telemetry of the cars right now, I can bet you 100% that the tires are stone cold. Super duper blue color, basically just low pressure the whole way, and usually low pressure is not a very good thing to do, because if they touch the curbs, puncture can happen, losing control can happen. So now our drivers, because we did not predict the weather, so our drivers may not be prepared with the right tire pressures to drive in these kinds of conditions right now. And as you can see from Raiden Shogun's perspective, the spray onto his window is a lot. The closer that he gets to the front of the other car, the more spray that he's going to have, and depends on his camera position, or his I would say his camera choice when he's driving. It could really impair him, especially if you choose the cockpit view right now. As now, Raiden Shogun is closing up with the person in front, going through the outside of the Lexus, braking lane into the bus stop. Will he be able to secure it? Yes, he did. That's a very good overtake, and the Lexus almost losing control there. Definitely a very scary moment, but good drive by Raiden Shogun there to avoid as much accidents as he can, to just move up. But he is currently still in the 19 position, so most probably he's being left behind quite a lot, and his job now is to try climb up as much as possible towards the position. As now we can see Shazwan Shafiq in the red Ferrari chasing another Ferrari of Taufik in front as well right now, as they're going through the fast left-hander here, going through the bus stops of right and left. After this, will he be able to close by? He's inching closer. He's going in, but so far he's keeping a very safe distance. No overtaking opportunity has ceased to exist yet for him, as he's just keeping himself quite a safe distance. I think maybe Shazwan Shafiq is trying to keep his distance close, because with the rain and everything, it's going to be very risky to overtake during the corners and things like that. And if he's being too close, he's going to be blind. So I think that's what his strategy is, right? He's trying to keep a safe distance between himself and the car in front, and maybe overtake him during the most predictable part of the track. Probably the hairpin near the start-finish line. My assumption on that. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, that seems to be a popular overtaking opportunity when the grip levels go down. Now, some of the other places where you normally see an overtaking maneuver in the wet get very, very tricky. At the end of the Kemmel straight into Lake Com, you really need to have lateral grip going through there in order to try and make an overtaking maneuver stick. It is possible, but you do have to be both very brave and B, very skilled in order to pull that off. And of course, towards the middle sector there's a couple of opportunities that is possible into campus perhaps, or a couple of the other braking zones. But realistically, that last corner, La Source, is going to be your best bet to try and overtake someone. Again, this is where rain really changes the track so much, especially here at Spa, because where you traditionally try and make an overtaking maneuver work might not work, but then again, opportunities may open up elsewhere. The grip levels are so different online, offline, and when you hit the sort of little rivulets and puddles of water coming down the straight there, you might find yourself hitting the brakes and going into full ABS and not slowing down very well, or even locking up. Or you could find more grip than the driver you're battling against, sort of in some way completely weird. And you might actually be able to get a overtaking maneuver done there. But of course, as you can see from Shazwan's point of view, you have to do that whilst not even being able to read the road particularly well, because that's an awful lot of spray. And really, the drivers now are just looking to the sides of the windscreens to try and figure out where they are on track. Now, these guys have done a lot of practice, so they really do have the braking zones, the racing lines, and everything else locked in, but that all changes in the wet. And again, with the night time, with the spray, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a couple of the drivers coming off the track. We've seen a couple of the Lexuses really not like that second to last corner, the bus stop chicane. A lot of the front engine rear drive cars tend to get a little bit squirrely through there. It's kind of scary watching them. Meanwhile, Iqbal Suji, again, using a little bit of his Monte Carlo rally experience to try and catch back up to Zeth Yuen. This is kind of the conditions where you expect an oddball race winner, to be honest with you, because most of the times, let's face it, as sim racers, we tend to practice mostly in the dry. We're trying to get the best lap time in the dry. We don't really practice as much in the wet as we perhaps ought to, considering we can change the weather at will. But in any case, sometimes you get weird things happening there. Iqbal Suji going side by side, and is this going to be a change of position? Yes, it is! The drive coming out of the corner there and into Puhon, and it looks like Iqbal Suji managed to get that position. I wouldn't say easily. But
basically what Zuyen did was that he took a bit of the outside too much. Iqbal Suji did a very nice switch back there, basically just baiting Zuyen to take the inside line, and plus, adding with the rain in as well, that basically Zuyen just had to take the inside line, and with the slippery conditions, with trying to power over the car to defend, his car just basically just slides out, just giving basically an open door to Iqbal Suji to just enter the space, and just did a very good overtake. Very nice drive by Iqbal Suji there. He's a veteran. I mean, not in ACC, but definitely in other games such as Gran Turismo 7 or Gran Turismo games. But it seems that he is able to apply that same skills here as well. But Zuyen is not giving up. Zuyen is still I think that Zuyen keeping up with Iqbal Suji at the back there. You thought that he would be left behind, right? Not Zuyen is still keeping up close to Iqbal Suji, as close as he can, as much as he can. Nor, I'm not sure. I can't see. It's a bit too dark. That's not Zuyen, but okay. It could be Farid. Oh, that's another back marker. Yeah, our steward says it's a back marker there. Iqbal being very nice, letting the back marker going through. Very, very nice of him to do that as well. Well, that's a battle that we have seen tonight. For now, very, very chilling, very, very nice. But another one that I can see now is Farid and Zuyen are also fighting each other with 0.1 seconds. And it seems that, they're going side by side, going to Uruj and going head to Radion, as Farid in the Speed Tavern. In the Speed Tavern with a very, he's going through the straight. He's using the McLaren's power to go through the straight. He got a very good exit going uphill just now as he overtakes Zuyen like a piece of paper just being torn in the rain. Very, very nice. Good drive by Farid there. I'm not sure what happened to Zuyen as he already lost 2 plays right even before the first sector of the track now. And now we can see another car, probably a back marker, just trying to overtake Zuyen, but Zuyen is just keeping his place as a surprise again. But now, as we can see, Farid right now is going to close his distance between himself and Iqbal Suji. He's already lowering it down below 5 seconds, and that's a battle that we have seen tonight. Great job by Farid just now. The drive going to Uruch already on. That's a very good drive by the McLaren driver.
Yeah,
Well, it's some great driving. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, great driving.
We've started at 21 degrees Celsius, and now we've worked our way all the way down to 7 degrees Celsius.
It's getting lower.
Yeah, it's getting lower and lower. We might actually start seeing snow out there on the course. Brendan Chung has caused a yellow flag there. I'm not surprised. He might have gone a little bit wide, or it looks like he might have actually departed for some reason or another. We're not too sure what happened there. He's back up and running again. He might have just gone off, had a bit of a spin or run wide there. I don't blame him. But what I will say is, with the massive change in temperature, the tire pressures are going to be all over the place for a lot of these drivers. And so for Zeth in third place there, perhaps that might have been what happened. Not only to him, but to quite a few drivers throughout the field. Ryan Lim was doing quite well. He was right up there with Brendan Chong for a bit, but now he's down in 10th place. Shazwan Shafiq starting to get a little bit quicker. Taufik is back up into top 10 placings there. It looks like Wilson Woon is recovering. The LOR Ascent team are recovering a little bit. Remember, that was the car that Jaden started the race with and had perhaps what must be the most spectacular stint anyone has ever seen in ACC. He's had absolutely everything happen to him. Wilson Moon will be hoping for a little bit more boring, chilled out, relaxed drive through the rain, if you can call this kind of driving relaxed in any way, shape or form. But yeah, I've got a feeling that I think nobody could have predicted the weather conditions to be this extreme, and perhaps that might be messing with the tire pressures. Now, just to let you guys know, it's not just us here in the commentary box that have no control of the weather. Even our stewards and our race director have no control of the weather because it's randomized. So realistically, it's an RNG generator somewhere off in the distance that's determining the weather. But then again, that's usually what happens at Spa in real life. So can't really blame them for doing that, but it's absolutely fascinating. I've never seen GT cars pounding around a racetrack at 7 degrees Celsius outside of maybe testing at Silverstone in the winter.
I mean, I'll be honest, this is what I expected from, if we're doing an ACC race, this is what I want to see, a bit of a mixed weather. And considering that we are in Spa, mixed weather is a must. Mixed weather is definitely a must. As now we can see, there's two battles right now between Shazwan Shafiq and Taufik both in the Ferraris, and it seems that Brandon Chong as well is closing to Ziyan, chasing for P3. Brandon Chong, who spun out earlier, managed to close. Ziyan has been losing a lot of positions lately. He has been dropping like leaves on a very windy Malaysian day. He's just been dropping one by one from P1 to now P4. What happened? Is it because of him? Is it because of the car right now? Is it because the car, the setups that they are using right now is not suited for the weather conditions, that the car just basically is undrivable now? Also, we have another friend of ours here, Amo. Amo, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the commentator box. How you doing?
Yes. Yeah, we'll take the good evening since we're all really deep into the night right now. But yeah, just catching on to the end of that, it's really late into the night and it's wet, so not the most ideal conditions for driving at all. You just wish you were stopped on the side of the road and just watch the race,
Yeah, and we were talking about Zuyan just now because Zuyan was at P1 before the night race starts, but currently he has been dropping like leaves from P1 to P4, and he's he's just not keeping up his usual pace right now. And if he keeps this up, it's either the car or the driver himself, but they need to get it fixed, as if they keep doing this for the next 1 hour and 36 minutes, they're going to drop even more positions and, just not being able, having the chance to get that pole position anymore though.
Yeah, but I think Zach will be happy with this way it's going because he is among the leaders of the solo class, unless of course we count the fact that Afiq Farid is in a better chance of winning that one because he's closing in up to the back of Iqbal Suji. Now that's a battle that I would pay to watch because those are two of the best operators in ACC and any sort of sim racing platform. They are at the front, so Iqbal then's putting on sort of that demonstration of why he is, without a doubt, one of the best drivers in Malaysia for sim racing.
Yes.
But against an ACC specialist like Afiq Farid, yeah, this is going to be quite a tight stint late into the night game.
I can agree with you on that, Emma, because when Afiq Farid took over Zef Yen just now, it was a 5-second gap, and within 2 laps, he's already cut off 4 seconds out of the gap, and he is still chasing Iqbal Suji like there's no tomorrow with the McLaren. Iqbal Suji being a pro himself in Gran Turismo, and like you said, Afiq Farid being a pro himself in ACC, so definitely Afiq Farid has the advantage over Iqbal Suji, but Iqbal Suji definitely has his own experience as well. He could use that, but now as you can see, it's closing down to less than 1 second right now. Iqbal Suji is in the danger zone. Afiq Farid is looking for an opportunity to overtake Iqbal Suji. He has the chance, but as you can see, the rain is not being very, very nice to anyone, as if you get closer to the car in front, you will be blinded, and provided that the track is basically ice cold right now, the tires are not going to cooperate with your readers. So Afiq Farid has to find a way to overtake Iqbal Suji safely, or maybe he wants to find a very risky way to do so where Iqbal Suji least expected. We'll have to see that.
Yeah, I mean, because you're talking about Iqbal not in ACC not in the same sentence. I would say it is pretty much relative because the fact that he has ACC experience, so him being in the front, I'm not really that surprised either. But going toe to toe with someone with like Afiq, who's pretty much one of the best in the game in Malaysia, if not around the Asia Pacific region, it is going to be a good fight on the cards. And then of course, Iqbal puts a staunch defense here as we come up now to the source for the 35th time. About half the race almost gone and half the race left to go now. After this, we're waiting to see what the weather is going to entail, but it's pretty much the same that what we had at Silverstone, where it was raining pretty much almost the whole way. But I don't know about the weather conditions when we had at Spa here, Wei Han.
Yeah, well, these are still damn difficult conditions that these drivers are facing. That's what I could say. It's getting even more and more difficult. Compared to Silverstone, at least you can still see the track. At least there's the sun there. But well, look, come on! Right now you're into the depths of the night in poor cold visibility and basically cold misery. I can't imagine myself in these conditions.
Yeah, you're practically blind.
Maybe getting caught out in the midnight rain could be the closest we can experience to this, or maybe a night highway drive. At places where there are no street lights. That's the closest that we get. But going full on racing, at least saving grace is at least we're still racing at Spa. It's still a pretty comfortable track to go racing, and at least we're not on the Nordschleife where things get brutal.
I would love to see our drivers racing in the full-on Nordschleife during nighttime rain, because that would be a very entertaining thing to see. But speaking of battles, right, we have at least 1, 2, 3 battles going on. First one we're seeing now is Iqbal Suji with Afiq Farid. The second one I'm seeing on the map right now is Zef Yen with someone from P5. With Haziq Azlan. And another one is probably another 2-way battle between J Lo, Shazwan Shafiq, and Taufik. So 3 cars. There's 3 different battles happening right now, and we'll have to choose eeny, meeny, miny, mo on whose battle are we going to see. So far, the closest one will be Iqbal Suji and Afiq Farid. And so far, nothing has happened yet. It seems that Afiq, I would say he is on the attack, but he's being very, very conservative about it. It's either he's bidding his time or he's trying to see where can I push Iqbal Suji to the limit that he will make a mistake, because he's been doing this for the past, I would say, few laps, and he's still keeping behind Iqbal Suji at least within 1 second. And as I'm speaking right now, it seems that Afiq Farid is keeping it very, very close, almost bumper to bumper as they're going through Uruj and Radion after this. Will this be the place where Afiq Farid pulls out a move as he's very, very close, going through down? and we will be going uphill as well. If Afiq Farid gets the exit right, he will get the extra speed that he needs. The move that he did to overtake Ziyan just now, and it seems that Iqbal Suji has responded well as well, keeping it the same speed. The gap is close, but not close enough for Afiq Farid to overtake on the straights, but he's getting the slipstream, looking through the inside. Who will break first? Who will get the inside? It seems that Afiq Farid took the inside. Iqbal Suji defending from the middle, not giving him any space as they're turning to the left. Afiq Farid and Iqbal Suji still keeping it side by side, and Afiq Farid has secured his pole P1 position away from Iqbal Suji. But then Iqbal Suji still is not giving up, probably just waiting for the right moment to overtake, as Afiq Farid just closing down on the inside, not giving a chance to Iqbal Suji to do a switchback onto him, as Afiq Farid right now is the current leader of our race tonight. That's a very good. It seems that Afiq Farid really likes to overtake people on the first part of the track, on the first sector of the track. He's been doing that to a lot of people. A lot of people. He's been doing that to everyone. Everyone is.
Yeah, it does seem like he really enjoys that section of the track there. Perhaps it just suits his driving style, the car, the setup, but it's definitely working very well for him there. Afiq Farid doing a fantastic job to actually even get to the race. I talked to him a couple of days back and he was feeling a little bit under the weather. He was a bit worried that he wouldn't do the 3 hours. I'm pretty sure that whatever the doctor gave him has sorted him out and he's out there at least driving in full force. But managing to get himself up into first position. Iqbal Suji in second place and Brendan Chong in third on the timing screens that we have here right now. And it looks like Afiq Farid's just able to open up the gap a little bit. I wouldn't call it a safe gap, but just ever so slightly starting to go ahead. Meanwhile, looking at the comment section, and we have Sheng Yuan Hao mentioning that the tire pressures maybe cook too much. And I think I might actually have to agree with him on that when it comes to Zeth's issue there with the tires. Now the thing is that you'd think that with the track temperatures being this low, the tires will be under temperature, but if the car isn't quite working in the right sort of operating window and it starts to slide around a lot and you find yourself catching big slides every couple of laps or so, or even every sector, then you start to build up tire pressure. So you have this weird situation. It doesn't happen all the time, but you have this weird situation where the track temperature is really, really low, but your rear tire temperatures are right up through the roof. And of course, when that happens, the tire begins to overpressure, you start losing grip, and then you start sliding more, and it's a bit of a slippery slope. And for a driver, even a very skilled one, it can be hard to recover from that, because the only way you can sort of recover is to really drop the car's pace right back down and try and nurse the tires back up. But in these conditions, it's hard work, I tell you that much. And that perhaps is a theory as to why a couple of the front runners have found themselves with very slidey cars.
Yeah, no, that's why you can see right now that even Aiden Tan, I think, has overtaken Zeth as well for position. So dropping like a stone, he is in that BMW. And normally that BMW is quite a handy piece of kit in the wet. It's surprising to see him drop that far back, but maybe, as rightfully pointed out by Sheng Wan and also you, Max, that it might just be the fact that his tire pressures were not suitable for the conditions, and it has gone through beyond 30 degrees, which is the recommended temperature when you're in the wet. So, 30 psi in the wet. So that's probably the reason why he's now just falling way behind from where he would have been.
Yeah, I would say I agree on that. But given that decision right now, I think in some certain situations, some people would be like, either one, he just stays out as much as he can, and bear the exceeded tire pressure, or you can go back to the pits, try to go to the pits and get the tires with the right pressure, because in the long run right now he's already dropping by. He's already at P6. P7. He has lost 6 places so far, and I would say in the span of 10 minutes, as we can see right now, is that Shazwan Shafiq? Oh no, Shazwan Shafiq is still behind Taufik right now.
No, he is. He's actually behind Zeph by half a second right now, isn't
Oh
he?
my.
By the looks of it. Yeah.
Zeph has lost another position. See, so
Yeah.
Zeph-
So that's why our live time speed is not updating quite well, but we can see that Shazwan and Taufik, that particular gaggle, have caught up to the back of Zeph. So Zeph's gonna have even more of a miserable time now.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point he has to make a decision whether to keep staying with the overinflated tires, or just keep staying out, trying to lose position slow. It's either one, he stays out and lose position slowly, or pit and lose position a lot. So I think that is probably going through his mind right now as well, and he needs to make a decision right now because he's just basically dropping like leaves. And Taufik and Shazwan still keeping it, but they have been battling the same position for the last few laps. Shazwan definitely is not trying to push for another position up with Taufik here, but instead I would say he's trying to survive as long as he can without risking on losing positions, which is, I would say, probably an interesting strategy as well. And now we can see Jason Lowe is going to overtake Ziyan as well, as Ziyan again has dropped to P9 with the Porsche of Jason Lowe just overtaking him like it's nothing. Okay, I think at this point we can agree that Zev needs to make a decision here. He needs to make a decision because there's like 1 hour and 34 minutes left of race. He needs to do something to not lose even more positions. I mean, I think at this point he just might drop even more. Look at the weather conditions. Look at the weather timing. It is still going to rain for the next few minutes. He needs to make a decision here.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I would say that looking at the time as well, it's 1:45 a.m. Sort of in server or in camera time. Now, of course, the time has been sped up in terms of weather and conditions out there on track. So we're trying to go through an entire 24-hour sort of stint in 3 hours, just to give you guys a real feeling of endurance racing. But this is the absolute middle of the night, and for me personally, I would say that you'd have to come in, you'd have to change tires and accept that you might have to change them once more before the end of the race, which might be what he's trying to avoid. Now, of course, the old adage would go that it might be the wrong setup for now, but perhaps in 6 hours' time it might start working again. But I don't think I think he's losing a bit too much time. But then again, he might also be trying to avoid taking any extra pit stops. He might just be circulating out on track until conditions improve, then switching on to a different set of tires and then going for the attack there. But for me personally, yeah, I would pit. Just to be on the safe side.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Emil?
Yeah, I think cut your losses. Just might as well do it now because you're going to lose even more time droning out on track. In fact, despite him having pace-wise, not so bad, close up to the leaders, but the way he's dropping, he's probably going to get lapped soon because Afiq and Iqbal are lapping at a quite high pace. As meanwhile, we have Hazi Azlan spinning. He's triggered the yellow flags on the way he spun, but he definitely put a case in Tasman point about that. The tricky conditions can come into play there. But going back to Zeph's situation, might as well just pit because the more time you spend on track, the more time you lose it. It's cumulatively, it's almost as much as you're going to do with a pit stop by the time that you do your actual pit stop. So
yes,
might as well just do it.
Yeah, very much agree. As as we're saying this right now, Ryan Lim in P10 right now is closing up to Zeph right now as well, from a 20 to 30 second gap now turning into a 13 second gap. He's closing in, so Zeph has to do something sooner or later. And pretty much now we're looking at Shazwan Shafiq. Shazwan is still keeping a close. I have noticed that Shazwan is playing a bit of a game. He's just staying as close as he can to Taufik. It's either one, he's trying to get some aero advantage, or he's just there to like use Taufik's spotlight to look at the road better. I'm not sure why, because he has been keeping. It's like both of them are working together to go up the track. I'm sure they're from two different teams. but they are from the same car manufacturers, Ferrari. It could
They
be
are
a-
teammates, yeah. They race under the same banner, which is a GSR. So
Oh,
not sure.
okay.
We're not sure whether or not Taufik and Shazwan play team orders in this particular point. But if it's a championship on the line, they might as well just do it. But or they just want to work together, buddy up, and try to catch. As you guys land 25 seconds up the road right now, there's a bit of a half chance since Haziq looked like he had a half spin.
Wow.
Yeah,
this
that's
is,
what I would do. Yeah.
This is the definition of kerjasama, a teamwork.
Yeah. But I was going to say as well that the thing you'd want to do, especially if you're working together as a team, even without team orders, in this situation, it's too far away from the end of the race for you to have a definitive overtaking maneuver. And if you start to battle, you will lose out on a car that's running in clear air, even in these difficult conditions. Trying to go side by side, trying to muck about like that, it's going to be incredibly difficult. And looking at the natural pace, let's say, Taufik and Shazwan not that far apart in terms of their best lap time, they probably would have come sort of independently to the same conclusion that let's not battle, I'd rather follow you. Shazwan's probably saying, I'd rather follow you and we'd work together, get up to the front, and we'll worry about who does what when we get closer to the end of the race. That would be the smart thing to do. Of course, you know, knowing racing, sometimes the rhythm descends and you tend to go for a move anyways, but it looks like that would be the smart thing to do, and I think that's what they're doing here as well.
Yeah, can I add in something right now? Ryan Lim in P10 is currently closing in on Zev Yen right now in the BMW. Is
Well, let's
Ryan
see how
Lim?
that turns out.
Yeah, let's see how that turns out. Ryan Lim in the Aston Martin is closing up.
Okay,
to
this
Zev
one is
Yen.
not following. This one want to overtake.
Yeah, he's looking to get at least a top 10 finish. Ryan Lim has. Oh wait, has he?
Yeah, he's done it. He's done so.
He has done so.
Yeah, because Zev ran wide at turn 1 La Source. You can almost see just the headlights coming from Zev's side. That Ryan just got on the inside, and that's it. He's definitely not liking these conditions, and the tires are more than cooked. But pointing out to what Max said, he wants to save a pit stop. But how much can you say when you're losing time hand over fist anyway?
You're basically just bleeding blood bit by bit from that mistake. Just change the tires. Just change the tires to a lower pressure. Do it. He's just bleeding out onto the track. Basically, he's literally bleeding up positions as the race goes on right now.
Well, if Zeth is able to, despite those difficulties, if he's able to find one driver to hang on to perhaps drag him along, to tow along towards the end, then that's fine. But I think, you know, if you're losing too much, you have to cut your losses at some point. The finish is still not so near yet. I think, yeah. Zeth should. Well, Zeth. Well, if he can hear us, you know, please go to the pits, get better tires for yourself.
That's free engineering advice there from the four of us in here. Shimon has something to add to that in the live chat there. The tires token almost finished for this stint. So that's another thing that we haven't worried about yet, is that wet tires, just like dry tires, will wear out. And they're going to have to start thinking of these wet tires more like your average dry tires. They're going to start wearing out, they're going to start slowing down a fair bit, and they're going to have to pit again, perhaps. Wet tires being a little bit more delicate than dry is, if you're sliding around with them a little bit too much, you might end up having to switch to them. And that raises another interesting thing, because it is raining now, but if we get into the early morning hours, as we will do towards the end of the race, and it stops raining and the dry line starts coming up, then you'll have a situation where you're sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place. Do you try and make the wet tires survive? Do you try and get the dry tires to keep going? Do you even have any tires left in order to go through? Of course, in ACC you do have a limited amount of tires. I don't think anybody's gone through 20 sets, but I wouldn't be mistaken if someone actually did. Throughout the course of this race, it has been absolutely insane, and I don't think we've seen quite the end of it yet. Of course, I think Farid doing very well up in the lead there. Iqbal Suji still within touching distance there. Right now we're having a look at Iqbal He's sort of just keeping lockstep with Afik Farid. I don't think these drivers would be going for any extreme maneuvers unless someone makes a mistake. If Afik Farid makes a mistake coming out of a corner, you might see Iqbal attempt an overtaking maneuver, but I don't think he's going to be pushing the point too much. Again, an hour and 15 minutes left in the race. There's an awful lot more racing left to go, an average Grand Prix almost, between now and the checkered flags. So it's going to be a lot of thinking and a lot less sort of eagerness in order here for those two drivers.
Yeah, and speaking of overtake, it seems that Shazwa Shafiq has overtaken his teammate Taufik in the Ferrari. Probably they're doing we're not sure that it could be team order, but it could be a team order where they're like, okay, Shazwan, okay, Taufik, let me be the lead driver, and let's see if you can tail me so I can get a better time, or maybe both of us can still work together to get a better time to chase. As they have been doing this for the past few laps, where Shazwan was the one tailgating Taufik, but now the role has reversed, where Taufik is going to do his job to tailgate Shazwan as much as he can, with the hopes that them working together to draft each other could be a way for them to get more positions up. As now we're back to Iqbal Suji, still chasing Farid right now, as they're going through a back marker. That's a tad bit too scary. That's a very ambitious overtake there by Iqbal Suji, overtaking the back marker. But yes, Afik Farid and Iqbal Suji still keeping it very, very close to each other. Maybe they're, I would say the good thing that's happening right now is that Iqbal Suji is not losing sight of Afik Farid. Clearly, it shows that these two, their driving levels are on par with each other. As usually people, when they get overtaken, usually the lead driver will just run away and create a gap as long as possible. But Iqbal Suji is doing a very good job in keeping Afik Farid in front of his taillights, as to not lose sight, and hoping that he can find an opportunity to overtake Afik Farid.
Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating seeing what these two drivers are up to. It's absolutely hilarious actually coming across that back marker. You can see that while Iqbal wasn't exactly trying to set his tires on fire in order to overtake Afik Farid, but he was quite willing to set his tires on fire to try and overtake that back marker, because if he got bulked by that back marker, he would have lost contact with Afik Farid. And I tell you, regardless of the aerodynamics of the situation, or even the vision situation that's happening right now, because you do get a little bit of an advantage in being able to see the headlights of the car in front, especially as we've managed to get into the part of the night where the spray isn't as bad as it was earlier on in the day. But I will have to say there, for Iqbal, he really wants to keep in contact with Afik Farid, because as you guys would know, as soon as you lose contact with the car ahead, you sort of lose your carrot, if you will. You sort of lose your psychological sort of focus point, and you start to slow down, and you start to make silly little mistakes, and it starts to get a lot harder to stay in contact with someone that you can't see. So it's for me, it's very entertaining there. You can tell that Iqbal is literally the man at the airport trying to jostle his way to the front, almost.
Well, it have to be in such a situation. I think we are kind of at the more chaotic hour of the race. Although the battles have kind of died down, the conditions are pretty gnarly still. Where lap traffic really is a problem sometimes if you are a driver in front. You need to navigate yourself. You need to make your way through safely. Oftentimes lap traffic they're usually cooperative. They let you by, but sometimes if you have to preserve your time interval with the driver in front of you, let's say you have a battle that's going on, the last thing you want is for the lap traffic to become a stumbling block in the way while you're trying to have things your way as well. So certainly Iqbal and Farid have had quite a lot on the plate earlier on, but now I think things seem to be evening out.
In fact, yes, Iqbal has managed to close up the gap just a little bit there. It was 9/10 of a second through the back half of the track. It's 6/10 right now, coming through Blanchimont, as we just about can see through the darkness. And it's a fascinating thing. I love driving on dark tracks in comparison to the lit ones. I mean, it's quite cool to go to Abu Dhabi and have all the lights at Yas Marina, but just this feeling of coming from the absolute pitch darkness across the start finish line, where you've got the glow of the pits and the grandstands bathing the start finish straight. It's kind of a cool feeling. But as you can see there, the gap is ebbing and flowing, I think, more due to traffic more than anything else. If they were out there two alone to the track, they would probably be keeping pace right now. But yeah, it's all pretty much in lockstep as the driver decides to really give way going through Radion.
And speaking of, I would say I would like to add in one more right now as we're looking through the timesheets. It's between Shazwan Shafiq and Taufik. Right just now, do you guys remember when in the earlier stages where Shazwan will, who's that? Who went out of track? We're not sure, but it was someone in the BMW. I'm not sure who. But anyways, speaking of Shazwan and Taufik, where they were keeping a gap close to zero, in at least under 1 second. But it seems that right now, Shazwan is pulling away from Taufik and has increased the gap. And probably they were thinking like, okay, you know what, this teamwork thing is not working out. We have 1 hour left. We have around 1 hour-ish left. Let's just let me through. Let me just go all out right now and get as much position as I can. As right now, Shazwan Shafiq is now just running up ahead, running away and creating a gap from his teammate Taufik. As we can see now, it seems that someone in the Aston went a bit of a yellow flag just now, but has come back in, probably just went a bit outside of the track. So far, the gap between everyone is in a very safe zone. Nothing too dramatic happened. Even like the battle between Afiq Farid and Iqbal Sudirana has also been simmered down a bit as the gap has been increasing bit by bit. Everyone is keeping it very, very close. But one thing that I'm really, really excited about, guys, is when we're reaching to the early morning stages, because fog. Because of fog. I'm not sure if fog. Yes, I'm not sure. I think if I remember correctly, Spa does have a fog physics in terms of that's Aiden Tan went a bit of a slip and slide there. Probably his tire has been cooked up as well. He has been making some mistakes lately, but so far, he has been making some slight mistakes. Probably the tires are cooked. But yes, like I said, fog. One thing I'm really excited to see is probably around the 6 a.m. mark, where the fog most probably will be there, and it will definitely make our drivers' life a bit more harder, especially if they're driving alone, because again, they will be blind. And I'm excited to see that part happening.
Bro, how many Kinder surprises do you have in your bag, man?
I have a lot of. I have a bag. I think you can say I have like a bag full of surprises. Wow. But yeah.
Okay. Will we be able to see the cars from the TV cameras?
I hope so.
I hope so too. I really hope so.
I hope so, man.
It's a good thing that in sim racing we have the driver tags up above the cars so that we do have half a chance of being able to see the cars there. I don't envy the guys who are having to do broadcast for the 24 hours of Daytona that have just passed. They had, I think, a 6-hour fog yellow flag situation going on from memory. That can't have been fun for everyone involved. But hopefully we'll be able to get a little bit less of extreme situation there, and luckily in the sim the helicopters can take off perfectly fine in fog. We've got very high-tech helicopters.
Oh yeah, we do. Weatherproof. Black Hawk.
Oh yes. And hits one there, just getting a little bit wide. He's down in 17th position there, getting really sketchy out there on the track there. But some of the drivers you see further back are basically sort of almost showcasing the lack of grip out there. And I was going to say that it's interesting to me that a couple of the solo drivers are that far up. I think the top three drivers are solo drivers, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken. I usually am. But Afik Farouk definitely is a solo driver, and he's doing a fantastic job to lead the race. That Iqbal Suji is in second position. Brendan Chong is in third place. And yeah, we haven't seen much of Brendan Chong throughout the course of the season, apart from staring at that wonderful, wonderful livery. But yeah, I think he's actually done a fantastic job to get the car in that position. Now, of course, that's only half the battle. He's got an hour left, an hour and 5 minutes, in fact, left to go before he can try and claim a podium position. But he's done a fantastic job to keep the car up there for that long. 16 seconds with the gap, but I think he just popped into the pits. Oh no, he hasn't. I do.
Oh no, he hasn't.
The camera tricking me again.
Okay, speaking of something happening, I would say one thing that I predict is going to happen is the battle between. Oh, it seems that. The battle between Ryan Lim and J-Lo in the Porsche, as now Ryan Lim is keeping a closer gap to the Porsche in front. It seems that Ryan Lim is climbing up. He is climbing up through the ranks, as now the Porsche is right in front of his face, right in his sights, now only waiting for moments for something to happen. As the gap keeps getting closer and closer, and not only that, they have a back marker in front, so someone has to slow down and overtake the back marker. Ryan Lim will see this as an opportunity to overtake as they're going to approach the final sector of the track, going through the bus stop there. As now Ryan Lim is definitely has the Porsche in sight, very, very close. Will the move be done in the hairpin before the start-finish line? Let's see how this goes as well. The Porsche will definitely realize that the Aston is right behind them, probably will do a defensive move. Oh, okay. It seems that Ryan is keeping the moves hidden. Probably I would assume that he's going to get as much exit speed as he can throughout the uphill, going to Uruj and Radion, probably to get the speed that he needs to overtake on the longest straight of the track itself. Let's see, will Ryan Lim be able to do so? The gap is closing down to 0.3, 0.2, and it's going to be 0.1 as Ryan Lim closing on the inside of the Porsche, and he has overtaken successfully. Very clean and very, very tidy. No fuss and no huss. That's a very good drive by Ryan there as he climbed up to P8. Very good drive by Ryan Lim. Very, very good drive.
Absolutely. We have a message from the chat there from Cheng Yuan. 5 a.m. All drivers, send it or go home. So I think,
That's a plan.
I think I'm going to vote for the send it option myself. But yeah, I think that is going to be the turning point, because I think that's going to be when we start to see a little bit of brightness happening up.
Oh yeah, we can kind of see the car clearer right now. Slightly, not too much, but slightly. So the sun is coming up. But let me tell you this, Max, the weather doesn't seem to be giving up. They're still keeping on the rain. Our drivers will be having a lot of fun after this, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to note for all of you weather watchers out there, the MaxPalmerWeather.com update. As you know, I've been tracking the temperature as we go through the race for a good 2 or 3 in-game hours. It was at 7 degrees Celsius. We have seen our first change in about half an hour in race time. It has gone up to 8 degrees Celsius, so I think we're going to start seeing the track change yet again, and into a condition that most of the drivers haven't had that much experience with, which is coming from cold tires and cold conditions into warm conditions whilst the track is still wet. Now, if you remember at the start of the race, it started raining pretty much at the same time as the race started. It started to get greasy and then damp into wetness as it went into darkness. So you had this sort of situation where you had quite a hot car, quite a hot tires. You had the the grip sort of degrade as it went into the night. This time around, I have no idea what's going to happen because we're going to go into light. The temperature is going to start to build in the track, but it's still going to be raining quite heavily. I think this rain isn't going to let off for quite a while yet to go.
Well, I can tell you, Max, looking at the weather right now, it seems that we are going to have an additional heavy rain coming by. Like now, if you think this is bad, it's going to be worse in a few more minutes after this. But we have seen a miracle, ladies and gentlemen. It seems that Zevian has finally pitted. He has finally pitted, so that is an achievement that we want to see. And let's see if Zevian can get the tire pressures right this time, and maybe within this 1 hour race, he have a chance to climb back up and get the podium that he has held on so forgivingly long, but has been losing for the past half an hour. He's going back in, and let's see, will the gap be closing? I will put a bet that Zev has a chance to go back, but probably, like, I would say best case P5. I mean, given if everything goes well. But what do you guys want to bet on? I would say he will go back to at least P5.
Well, as I like to say, if I were a betting man, I'd be a lot poorer than I am now. But I would think that he has enough time to make moves in this race still. So points are definitely on. He's up in 11th position based on the timing screens right now. But I'll have to say, it's going to be difficult, especially with the rain coming. As you can see there, the temperature is starting to change. You can second guess yourself and be on the wrong tire pressures twice as well. So there is a danger of that. And I don't think anybody's got any idea of what the right temperatures should be, if there even is such a thing as the right tire temperatures. I mean, these are probably the least amount of grip that Spa's ever going to have, frankly. But if anybody's going to pull it off, he is the man that can pull it. And you can see there, four-wheel drifting the car through a Bourne. He's pushing that car as hard as it'll go. And I think on fuel, he probably would be able to do it. Especially in the wet, you tend to use a little bit less fuel, a little bit less engine map. So there is a possibility that he could do something. But then again, having just looked at the driver who's directly behind him, his first job is to actually try and pull away from Afik Farid, because that is Afik Farid who is directly behind him, and he could put him a lap down.
Well, let's see if Zevian can get the position that he deserves, because so far, as you guys can see, he pitted, but he did not lose any position. He only lost one position, which is honestly, that isn't that bad. That's a very good outcome coming on from the pits. So that's why I would say, that's why I want to see if Zev can get back up. It seems that the tires are still cold, and it seems that Iqbal Suji is also right behind him as well. So he has to find a place to give way to Iqbal Suji to overtake him as well. Okay, if I may ask you guys, how was Zev during the quali session? Was he doing well? Was he not doing so well?
He was doing quite well, in fact. I think he was up towards the sharp end of the field, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was visiting every position, I think.
Yeah, he was doing that in qualifying, yeah. Not quite as bad as the LOR Ascent car, which I think has officially visited every single position on the timing board. But he did start a little slow in quali, but he did manage to get onto the front two rows of the grid towards the end there. So he was quick in quali, and he's definitely got the pace, because at the early section of the race, that first hour, he was doing very well for himself. So in my sort of opinion, I think it was a setup or a tire pressure or just something with the setup didn't gel through that middle hour. I don't think it was a driving thing for Zeth. But sometimes that's the cards you're dealt in racing. Sometimes you can get unlucky in terms of, cars crashing in front of you or someone taking you out. And sometimes you can just get unlucky from not having the right settings for the race. And like I say, it's all a bit of a gamble here. I don't think anybody could set the car up for these conditions. I don't think anybody was expecting to have to set the car up for these conditions. You might think it's wet, it's at night, but it is summer. We haven't seen snow on the side of the track yet, so
it's a Rooney. as we're actually as we're seeing right now, it seems that Shazwan Shafiq has overtaken Haziq Aslan as he made a mistake, going a bit wide on the right and left hander after the heartbreaking zone just now, and it seems that Shazwan Shafiq has taken the opportunity and getting P5 away from Haziq Aslan. Haziq Aslan was, I would say, he was quite consistent in the early part of the race, but lately I would say he has made some minor mistakes here and there, and that got basically due to that mistake, he has been overtaken due to those minor mistakes. But now we can see because of Zev made a mistake just now. He practically went, I would say maybe he spun out, as now we can see Wilson Woon in the Ferrari trying to find an opportunity to overtake Zev right now. And okay, as I said, that Zev has made a mistake and basically just cutting through the corner there, and Wilson Woon just takes the position and be like, thank you very much, I will be going now. Bye-bye in German. I do not know what's bye-bye in German. But yes, Auf Wiedersehen. Auf Wiedersehen indeed. Yeah, it seems that Zev did get, I would say Zev, although with the tire change, he kind of made a mistake there, probably still trying to get adjusted to his car. Let's hope it's not the tires again. But yeah, Zev again has dropped to... Actually, he's still in P11. He still stays there. He's now dropped to P12. So if he wants to do something, he needs to do it now within like less than 54 minutes to go. As we can see, Wilson Woon just goes through the back marker, running away as much as he can, as now his next target will be Namanza in the Lexus.
Yeah, and let's talk about LOR7 for a brief moment there. If you guys remember from the very start of the race, that was the car that went all the way from the front of the field to the back. He was down in 17th when Jaden was driving the car, and then Wilson had to get into the car as conditions got really, really bad there. So for him to be able to catch up to Ferrari Namanza in the Lexus, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I know, but Ferrari Namanza there in the Lexus, I think it's actually brilliant what the LRR guys can do. It is a bit of a recovery drive from them, but if they play their cards right, they are still on for some points, and they really do need the points for their championship ambitions. As many points as they possibly can to try and get themselves into position for the team standings. It's all fairly close there, not as close as we've seen, but it could get a little bit dicey there depending on what's happening up at the front of the field. Meanwhile, we're having a look at Taufik trying to catch up with Aslan. Haziq Aslan has had an interesting race so far. I think it's fair to say I've never seen a GT3 car go so sideways so often.
Yes.
as he has, but he's managed to keep it going in a straight line, or relatively pointing in the right direction, so props to him as well. But he's going to have to really push hard in order to try and keep Taufik behind him.
Yeah, definitely. As now we can see, it seems that Brandon Chong has gotten a yellow flag, probably spun out a bit, but he's still keeping that P3. But if he doesn't run away fast, Adrian Tan in P4, sorry, I'm not sure if it's Adrian or Alex, but yes, in the Aston Martin of P4 is closing the gap down right now. And it seems that Ziyan is also making another mistake. But anyways, we're watching the battle now between Taufik, and that will be... Oh, that's a back marker. That's a back marker, so he's definitely not having any issues there as well. But yeah, I was about to say that now technically the sun is out, so the drivers will have a better visibility through the course. So I would predict that everyone will definitely be pushing a bit harder now, since they can see everything, and will use this opportunity to overtake as much, to catch up and probably overtake as much as possible to secure their places. As Taufik right now is closing in to Haziq Aslan very, very much. He's closing in very, very much as well. Haziq Aslan, it seems that he's losing his pace and slowly losing his advantageous gap between himself and Taufik as they're going to Uruj and Radion. The Lexus has the straight line power here, but the Ferrari definitely has better exit speed there. as right now, that is not Haziq Aslan. That's a Valentino Rossi BMW there, as Taufik has overtaken another back marker, but Taufik is keeping himself close to Haziq Aslan as much as he can. Haziq Aslan, this is the place where he made a mistake just now, but he has learned his mistake to not do the same mistake again, as I would say he would not want to lose more positions that he wanted to right now as well, as Taufik is on the chase to close his gap between himself and Haziq Aslan.
Yep. In other news, we also have Aiden Tan appears to have a drive-through penalty on our timing screens there. Not too sure what that's for. Perhaps it might be for track limits or some other reason there. So I think it might be a track limit drive-through there for Aiden Tan. That's going to be really quite disappointing for him.
Yeah, but that's going to give a chance to Shazwan Shafiq though to get to P4. That's going to be that's good news for Shazwan Shafiq.
Yep. So yeah, that's going to be more changes up, I think, in the top 5 there. And again, points is so important at this late stage of the race there. So any mistake like that is going to be quite difficult. As you can see, there, Aiden Tan coming in for a drive-through penalty. Of course, there is only a limited amount of times you can leave the track surface and gain an advantage before you do get a drive-through penalty. It's an automated system, so unlike in the real world where we have marshals having a look out for these sort of things and stewards making a judgment call, in sim racing it's pretty cut and dry, so it's definitely a feels bad moment there for him. But Taufik, Haslan, and Shazwan, they might actually be rubbing their hands with Lee a little bit there, because they're just about to come across the start finish straight, and also more importantly come across the pit lane, and you might actually be able to get past, if not get past, get really close to the cars up ahead.
Yeah, because because also another issue if you're getting a drive-through in Spa is that the pit lane is very, and I could not say very enough, very long, that it's going to cost you, I would say, maybe 30 to 40 seconds at least. So definitely Aiden Tan is going to lose a lot of positions here. I'm assuming now probably Shazwan Shafiq could have closed the gap as and getting that P4 for himself. And it seems that I have been correct. Yeah, I am correct. Shazwan Shafiq has gotten the P4 to himself with a 38-second gap to Brandon Chong. Let's see, within this 48 minutes, will Shazwan Shafiq be able to close the gap and secure P3 for himself? Or maybe it's a futile effort, but we'll have to see how that goes later. As now we can see, Taufik has seen Haziq Aslan in front of his face right now. He can see the car clearly, he can see the track clearly, but the weather is not being helpful as the track is now getting really wet. As Taufik is going to chase Haziq Aslan for the P5 position. Haziq Aslan in the Lexus definitely has the straight line advantage with its very strong V8, but the Ferrari definitely, I would say, a bit more nimble than the Lexus. Taufik will be able to use that opportunity in this second sector to close down his gap between himself and Haziq Aslan, and let's see how it goes after this as well.
Yes, absolutely. Now we're going to take a very short break. We will be right back as soon as we possibly can. But do stay tuned. We've got the end of the race coming right up. It's going to be very exciting indeed. And we are back, and we'll be back all the way to the checkered flag on this our broadcast of the HSM European GT Tour. It's the final round here at Spa, 3-hour-long race, and your race leader right now is Afik Farid, 3.1 seconds ahead of Iqbal Suchi in second place. Brendan Chong is in third position, Shazwan Shafiq in fourth, and Taufik is in fifth, with Haslan, Tan, Lim, Lau and Nemanza rounding out your top 10. For those of you who've just joined us, my name is Max Palmer. With me in the studio, we have the whole crew. We've got Primer Ice T, we've got Chan Wei Han, and we've got Ammo as well. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Try and bring the energy back up for the end of the race there. But to be fair, we were all talking sort of before the race started that the second hour and in the middle part of the race is going to be a bit boring. It's actually been really fascinating stuff indeed. I've never been so entertained all throughout the course of an endurance race.
I would say, yeah, I'm quite excited too, actually, because one thing that I really like is that we get a variant of weather going through the track, and not only that, the timing as well is changing, giving the drivers a lot more challenges than they asked for actually. But I mean more challenges means your skills will definitely be better or challenged in the future as well. So that's what I'm really excited for. I'm glad that I'm able to join in and commentate with you guys for this particular race, and thank you so much to HSM as well for organizing the said race. I wish we could have more Malaysian-based ACC races that do variable weather rather than just sticking to one dry weather and basically just letting the guy with the best setup and the best drive win. But this is what I want. This is what I like to see, a bit of a change of pace. And yes, that's definitely from my side.
Yeah, it's great because this really tests the drivers. Oh no! I was about to say, Afik Farid has come off the track there, and it looks like
run.
Might lose a position there. I'm not too sure. Yes, I think Iqbal Suji has in fact gone past. So that is disaster there from Afik Farid. I was just about to ask you guys a question to pass the time, but we're not passing the time right now. A big issue has just cropped up there. Afik Farid has dropped down a position. Iqbal Suji has gone up into first place. All of that time, just biding that time for well over an hour. And the patience has finally come off. Iqbal Suji is in first position right now, and Afik Farid in second. Big news there. And wow, that took me by surprise.
I wonder what happened though. Like, what caused Afik Farid to do that mistake? Because basically it could be from our stewards. It could be possible that the tires are running out as well. But if his tire is running out, then Iqbal's tire should be running out. Because if I remember correctly, both of them pitted or changed driver at the same time as well. So both of them should have fresh tires. But it seems that Afik Farid lost his composure for a moment there and lost the lead, basically just handing the plate to Iqbal Suji and be like, yeah, you can have it. I'm just tired of getting first place. You can take it for a while. But yeah, it seems that Iqbal Suji now is running and is already creating a gap of 5 seconds. But Afik Farid will definitely be able to close if he keeps everything nice and tidy for a while. But speaking of something, it seems that Aiden Tan has taken the pit again, and he's dropped to P8. Not sure why he pitted again though. Probably because he was just serving his drive-through but not doing a pit. And now tires wise, that's why he pitted, it could be?
Potentially, yeah. I was just going to say that just as a bit of conjecture, second and third place, I'm not too sure. I think the top three are solo drivers. So I think Farid has been in that car for an awfully long time. And could it be that we're starting to see some mistakes happen from all of the drivers? Brendan Chong there getting very close with what I presume is a back market, judging by the timing screens there. But yeah, this is the point in the race. 40 minutes to go. You haven't quite got that final wind of getting to the finish there. This is probably as low as those solo drivers are going to feel. They've been in that car for 2 hours and 20 minutes. They know they've got another 40 minutes to go. and it can start to mess with you as well. With the changeable conditions, they haven't had a time to relax. They haven't had a time to just hot lap and take their mind off things because the conditions are changing all the time. So perhaps that might have been the reason why I think Farid perhaps could have just snagged the curb or got on the throttle a little bit too early there. It only takes one mistake at this level to actually affect yourself that much. But the other thing I do notice is that the gap between Iqbal Suji and Afiq Farid has opened up a little bit there to 7 seconds. Judging by our timing screens. So he's definitely dropping back in terms of pace. Perhaps he needs to head to the pits and get another set of wet tires. He might just be running out.
Yeah, it could be so. I mean, with the critical moment of 40 minutes left, it's not going to be long. With each lap giving give or take like 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So, like I would say, by a good calculation, it should be not very long for our drivers to finish the race. Sooner or later, it's going to pass through like very very fast. As now we are watching Zev Yen has been dropping to P14 right now. It doesn't seem that he's making mistakes, but it seems that he is still dropping through the grid right now. Even though with a pit that he did earlier, it seems that it doesn't change the fact what happened. Oh, but it seems that Raiden Shogun in the yellow flags probably has spun out in the track earlier, but he has regained back his composure. He didn't lose much. Probably Lacambra is probably just closing the gap, but not that far, not that fast. So Raiden is still in the safe zone. And speaking of Lacambra, he is also getting a bit of a yellow flag in the screen that we seen just now as well. Now the battle has quite simmered down. I would say the closest one that we can see. Practically no one. Everyone's just overtaking through the pits right now, as everyone is keeping a safe gap between each other. Because as I'm looking through the rain is going to be heavier.
Oh, no.
That's a Lando Norris moment right there. Screenshot that, people. That is a Lando Norris moment right there. If you guys remember, I would say a few years ago, Lando Norris did exactly that with his McLaren, crashing through the barriers, going through Uruch and Radion. But bless ACC physics. Raiden is safe. He is safe.
I mean, the difference between Lando and this guy is that that's a world champion. This is a world chump.
Just to add to that, right now, Sheng Yuan has been keeping us entertained in our comment section down below. By the way, if you guys are watching and you want to leave a comment down below, please do. And before you guys get on to the KLK, yes, I do remember your question. We'll try and squeeze that in for our other two commentators. But Sheng Yuan just saying box with the rather entertaining emoji there of someone screaming. So I think he might be onto something there, because as I was looking at Yuen going through Eau Rouge and Radion, he got the car fairly sideways, and Raiden is as well. Absolutely sensational bit of car control to keep that car going. The conditions, to my eyes, look a little bit different. I don't know if it's the temperature going up, and now the rest of the field are starting to have tire pressure issues.
Are you sure about that?
He's trying as hard as possible to keep that car going in a straight line, but there's an awful lot of cars sliding around. We've got up to 10 degrees in track temp, and it's still wet out there. A lot of cars are sliding around. I'm not sure. There might be just something that has changed in the track conditions that's made some of the cars get really skittish almost all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of skittish, okay, we should. I think it's the commentator's curse as the camera. I think I think it's very clear that Raiden's tires are dead, hence the slipping. So Raiden is just. I'm gonna bet he's taking a pit right now.
Yeah, he's gonna have to.
Yes, but yeah. Speaking of that, earlier it seems that our previous leader, Afiq Farid, has pitted and currently dropping to P4, giving the pole position to Taufik right now, as Iqbal Suji hasn't pitted yet. I'm not sure how Iqbal is keeping his tires still well attached to the car, But it seems that Afik Farid's earlier push has cost him his tire's life, and now has taking the pit away. But it could be a good position. It could be a good decision as well, as the tires for the Wesley typically last around half an hour to 40 minutes long, depending on the rainy conditions as well. So this could be Farid's last pit, and he's going all out. He's not going to do any more pits. There's no use after this. But Iqbal has not yet pitted, so it could be a chance for Farid to get back his pole P1 right now. The only one that we can see so far is Taufik. Taufik is the only one that has... Oh, okay, speaking of pit, Iqbal also probably responding to Afik Farid's pit, that he also did the pit as well, though possibly didn't want to get undercut by his arrival there. But I would say for now, it seems that Taufik in the Ferrari is probably in the best position right now. He has pitted, but the question now is, can his tire last long enough to get him, to keep him in that pole position? He has a chance to get P1, as right now Brandon Chong is taking over P1. He is borrowing P1 for a while from Iqbal Suji, and let's see if Taufik can as well overtake Iqbal Suji in the pit. I would say, for now guys, I say Taufik has the best chance here, because Iqbal Suji just pitted, Brandon Chong hasn't pitted yet, and Farid has pitted but probably needs to like push up a bit to get to P3. I would say Taufik has a very strong chance on winning here, just because he pitted earlier than the boys up top. What do you guys think?
Well, I think you might be right there. It's definitely, it's one of those situations where there's no absolutely truly correct answer. But if I was to take a punt at it, I would probably agree that Taufik is in a better position. And I've seen this over the years with Taufik. He's raced in all sorts of sims all throughout, and I've been lucky enough to commentate on some of his races. He does have a very good head for strategy. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's got himself out of phase with everyone else deliberately to make sure that he's engineered a situation where he's on a different strategy to everyone else, which is smart thinking, because if you can't quite catch them up as easily, then yes, that would be the way to go. Taufik has in fact on our timing screens and on yours as well officially taken second position there, so Iqbal drops down to third. The only thing that's going to perhaps put a spanner in the works is if the conditions change, and that might mess with Taufik's sort of vibe going into the final part of the race there, when you start wearing out the tires a little bit quicker than they are right now. But then again, it could all change, and of course there's quite a few other drivers in the top 5 that could try and do something funky. Having said that, I was about to mention Ryan Lim, but he has gone into the pits there, so he's pitting a little bit later than the leaders. He might drop another 1 or 2 more positions from where we see on screen there. But yeah, I would say that if I was to have a punt, if I was to have a bet, Taufik would be in the pound seats, as we'd say.
Yeah, because right now, as we can see, Brandon has also going for the pits. I think everyone is going to the pits now to do their final pit stop right now. Taufik has a chance to overtake Brandon Chong and keep P1 to himself. And speaking of P1, our former P1, Afik Farid, is closing. It seems that his undercutting has worked wonders for him, as now he is only less than 2 seconds away from his former rival, Iqbal Suji. And as you know, that basically just gives a door open for Farid to get that P3 away from Iqbal Suji, or probably P2, because of Brandon. Definitely Iqbal Suji and Afik Farid will have a chance to get P2 and P3 respectively.
Yes, absolutely. I would think that Brendan would get out in 4th by the looks of things there. The number to look at would be the gap between Taufik and Iqbal Suji, which I think is 30 seconds. So that's going to be the number that's going to decide the race there. If Iqbal Suji can close up that gap, I don't think it's going to be possible if the conditions stay like this. If Taufik's tires sort of degrade gradually, if there is
Yes.
something that happens where he starts overheating the tires. Of course, this could all change. So it's still very much up in the air there. But I mean, he's got the fastest lap of the race. He's got those bonus points. He's in the lead. I would be perhaps looking at that gap. If I was in his position, I'd be looking at that gap, keeping an eye on that gap and driving to that gap. So yes, he could give up a bit of time to keep your tires alive, but you know, invariably it's going to be a. Yeah, I was just about to say that Ryan Lim going past Murdoch there, who's having a bit of a moment. I think, and that's another change in position, I believe, actually.
That's true.
Yeah.
If I can add one thing into your point, right, Max? Now definitely them doing pitting right now. I can confidently say most of them has probably changed or keeping their wet tires. Okay, but if you look at the weather up there, it seems that in the next 3 minutes, the rain is going to stop, and that means with 30 minutes left on the track will turn from wet to greasy. Wet to damp to greasy, greasy to green. So there are a few stages to go through. So at certain point, the wet tires will be overheating at certain point, and it's really up to the drivers right now. You know, can they nurse their wet tires long enough so that they don't burn it during the later stages of the race itself? Because the weather is going to clear up soon. Track is going to get hotter and it's going to get greasy. Greasy means, although there's no rain, because of the residues from the rubbers just basically sticking up on the road and the track itself, the track basically turns into a non-stick pan, and everything is just gonna slide through, and basically like that. So I am excited to see if our drivers be able to adapt to these kinds of conditions. As you can see, rains are stopping slightly. It's going to be drying soon, so let's see if our drivers can adapt to the changing condition here in the last minute here right now.
Trust me in my mouth to put the commentator's curse into Taufik's plans there. I was about to say if something changed, then it would really complicate Taufik's race, and this looks like it's about to complicate his race quite a bit. Having said that, it's not all over for him. There's still a challenge for him if he can nurse those tires. It's going to be about him nursing the tires and nursing the gap, but that has just made this race very interesting, isn't it?
Yes. Okay, what you said?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, Taufik has a huge gap. He has a 35-second gap, and that's enough for him to take whatever time he needs to adapt to the changing conditions. So I think it's an advantage. A 35-second advantage is not something you lose really quickly. So I don't think Taufik's efforts will end that quickly just out of the window, but we'll see how he handles the changing conditions. That versus how Iqbal builds on his current situation is what we will have to see in the next minutes.
So that's a very good observation. I agree on you on that one as well. I just hope that because Iqbal Suji and Afiq Farid, they pitted during the last 30 minutes of the race, while Taufik, he changed, if I remember correctly, during the 50th minute, the last 50 minutes of the race. So it seems that there was a car outside. Could be Raiden Shogun. I think that's Raiden Shogun from the Itasha and the Merc just now. But yes, like I said earlier, Taufik did pit 20 minutes earlier than the other two of Iqbal Suji and Farid as well. So depending on how fast the track dries, it's really right now, it's really up to luck. If Taufik can really hold on, that's good. But if the track dries up faster than anticipated, then he's gonna have a whole new battle coming out of nowhere for himself as well.
Yeah, because all of the drivers are going to have their tires overheat, but if you've got a newer set of wets, you can manage the situation a lot better than in the dry. And I've noticed in ACC that when the tires fall off, they really do fall off, as unfortunately poor Raiden is demonstrating right now out on track, and quite a few drivers have as well. So it's hard to see how Taufik gets overtaken, but as you said, if the conditions change a bit more dramatically than what Taufik is hoping for, then we could have a very interesting end to the race. Taufik's gone into the pits.
Oh, Taufik has got to the pits. Oh,
I think he doesn't think I don't think he thinks he can actually make it to the end of the race.
Oh,
Or-
that's.
Or he could be trying to go for a gamble, knowing he can't make it to the end of the race and trying something perhaps a little bit outside the box.
Slick
But
tires.
yeah.
But that's a bit too risky for slick tires right now. The track is practically
It is.
wet still.
Yeah.
It is a
well,
little
nice
bit
and
too
big.
much.
Yeah, they say.
Yeah.
And now for something completely different.
Yep.
And then now for something completely different.
Yeah, it's
Perhaps-
like references.
Yeah. But perhaps the tires were just naturally towards the end of their life there. So that was a pity there for Taufik. So Iqbal is going to take over the lead of the race. Afiq Farid back in second place. And Brendan Chong gets past in third. I'm not too sure. I think there might have been something else that might have caused him to...
Yeah. You know,
Yeah,
I'm tuning into Taufik's stream now. I'm looking at him. He's going for tire change. Taufik is going for tire change.
Oh, wondering why though.
But
Really
still
wondering
too
why.
wet. I think it's still wet.
Yeah, that makes more sense on using wet radar. As you now, hold on, let me interrupt for you guys for a while. As now we're watching, Ryan Lim has Aiden Tan on his side as they're going through the hairpin before the start-finish line. Ryan Lim is probably going to pull the same move that he did with the other drivers before this, where he kept the gap really, really close during the start-finish line as he gets as much speed as he can, probably using the power of the V8 from the Aston to overtake another Aston on the straight right now. Let's see if Ryan Lim can close the gap. It seems that sadly that attempt has failed as Aiden Tan is running away not so much, but still keeping his safe gap between himself with Ryan Lim. I was expecting something, but yeah, everything's okay. Everything's okay, guys. Yeah,
And
everything's okay.
breathe.
And breathe.
But yeah, Ryan Lim is doing very well in these conditions. He's one of those guys that, one of those characters in sim racing. For anybody who's known him, willing to try. as Wayhan and myself know quite well. But one of the things that he's quite well known for is, never mind sim racing, he's willing to try absolutely every game out there on the planet. He's one of those guys that hoards Humble Bundle games. Big slide there for that back marker. So
An overtake in the rain in Puhon, that is not something I would do, man.
not even on a back marker.
No.
They got the back. They got the. Sorry, I'm using a safe for work word here. They got the backbone for it. He has the back. He has the backbone. He got the backbone going for it. Definitely a good backbone. Very, very good. Okay, guys, I'm seeing a very drastic change in weather here. It seems that the sun is out. The sun.
dry line
I
is out.
repeat, yeah, the dry line is out. The sun is out. That means. Okay, I'm not sure what the Taufik did. It's either Taufik still switched to slicks or he still went to wets. But definitely right now, because we have 22 minutes left, if we look at the timing really, really well, that means the track is going to get hot probably in another 5 or 10 more minutes. So the tires are going to be hot, really, really hot, especially if you're using wets. You're gonna lose some time here. I'm seeing someone when going into the pits, probably for a good slick tire jet. I do not know, but let's see how the driver is going to go, because now, as you can see, dry lines are appearing on the track. They can use it to their advantage, but if they're using wet tires still, it's going to be a really bad time for them. As now we can see Aiden Tan again getting another drive-through. Oh, dang.
Taufik on wets, 30 psi. Taufik on wets, 30 psi.
Oh,
So I'm not sure where this will go.
Yeah, that's
I'm not sure where
that's
this is going.
interesting. Yeah, I don't think any of the drivers do. Just looking at the track temperature now, up to 16 degrees Celsius. That's starting to walk or saunter or even amble over into slick territory there. I tell you what, if I was in a race car, I would probably be thinking of slicks right now. But these aren't race cars; these are 600 brake horsepower GT3 cars.
true,
So
that's true.
perhaps it's slightly different. What I would say though is that not all is not lost to the wet weather drivers right now if they play their cards right. 20 minutes is a big ask, but as you can see, we have a dry line out on track. What I would do as a driver would be to use the wet portions of the track on the straights to try and cool the tires down. I'd be looking at maybe backing up my entry into the corners and not getting so aggressive on the exit, trying to be smooth with my brake inputs. There's a lot of things that a driver still can do to try and just keep those tires alive as long as possible. But if I was in a, let's say, a very disadvantageous position right now, if I was sat there in a really awkward position, my first instinct would be to switch to slicks. Because if I'm in 15th position, I've got nothing left to lose. Let's say Zethuan, perhaps, if you were going to do something crazy, that would probably be the thing I would do, is jump onto the slicks, because as you can see there, some of the drivers are still having a wild time out. If you stick to the racing line almost religiously, you could probably get away with it right about now, but it would be very difficult.
Yeah, and speaking of difficult, Brandon Chong, from having difficulty to overtake or to get close to Afiq Farid earlier, is now closing to Afiq Farid, our former P1 just now, and closing in already under 1 second, being that Brandon Chong probably has a fresher set of tires than Afiq Farid, or not too much though, but that means Brandon Chong has a lower risk of burning off his tire by taking the dry line as much as possible. Like you said, Max, going the dry lines with wet tires is going to burn up well, and if you want to cool it, you definitely need to drive on the wet side of the track. I think Brandon knows that he has newer tires, so he has a lot more to waste. As now we can see, Brandon Chong has closed the gap to 0.1 second. Afiq Farid is definitely feeling the heat from the Italian stallion at the back right now, as Brandon Chong looking through the inside, Afiq Farid losing the grip, going the outside just now, and giving away the P2 away to Brandon Chong in the last minute of the races. Great drive by Brandon Chong there. Afiq Farid, if he wants to keep that P2, he has to chase back. And he has I would say he has slightly older tires than Brandon Chong, but that shouldn't be too significant, as Afiq Farid is not giving up, keeping the gap close. But Brandon Chong just runs away, just basically just turn on the nitrous button and just zooms away from Afiq Farid right now. Let's see if Afiq Farid can get that P2 back from Brandon Chong in the last minute of the race here. But good drive by Brandon Chong, very good drive.
Absolutely, a very mature head on those shoulders there to get himself up into second position. Perhaps in other conditions he might find it a struggle to get into the top 5, but to get himself up into second is brilliant stuff. The only thing I would say is that I don't think Afiq really defended that position all too much. He's driving on the wet side of the track there. I think he might be starting to think about trying to cool those tires off. 17 minutes isn't a long time, but it is long enough for tires to be a factor towards the end of the race there. So perhaps I wouldn't say he'd give positions up, because Afiq Farid does not strike me as a person who would give positions up very easily. That's just in his nature. He's a very well-known character in that sense. But I don't think he would have been defending too hard either. Again, a lot of the drivers out there might be thinking, no, I can get away with this. I can burn the tires up, and by the time I lose grip, it'll be basically race over. Other drivers might be thinking, well, if I keep my tires in check, maybe the guys will have their tires all burnt out a lap before the end and I could just drive around everyone. It's impossible to tell what's going to happen towards the end of the race, but what I can tell you is with 16 minutes to go, Iqbal Suji is still in the lead. Brandon Chong is in second place. Afiq Farid is only a second behind in third, so he didn't exactly roll over and lie down there. He's still keeping pace. In the meantime, Shazwan Shafiq, again, a great drive, I have to say, from Shazwan to get up into fourth place. He was at the bottom half of the top 10 there for quite some time, so he's managed to gain a few positions there. Taufik, we thought he was onto something there. Unfortunately, I think couldn't
Yeah.
quite get those tires going up again. But then again, he could be thinking ahead. He had to go into the pits and get himself a fresh set of tires. But I would think his position probably would mean that he could still gain a couple of positions left there. Murdoch doing a great job up into 6th position. Ryan Lim has gone into the pits. It looks like he's got a drive-through penalty. So has Jinbin Chong and Lu as well. So perhaps those off-track excursions have just about started to add up towards the end of the race here. But this is fascinating. Not your traditional door-banging finish to a race, but I think this could end up quite interesting.
Yeah, certainly, because of the fact that there's a difference in strategies. It's not really a clear-cut thing to see of who has the better calls in terms of the wet weather, but I think the track's still wet, so it might not be enough for slick. So Taufik might just pull a blinder here and think, he actually pitted much earlier, and the other guys are gonna be running into trouble with the slicks much later on. So we'll see whether or not it will pay dividends as we come into the end of this race. But 15 minutes left, we'll wait and see.
Yeah, as now we can see Brendan is so far not closing that gap much. He's still keeping it I can see he's trying his best right now to close the gap to Iqbal Suji in front, but I think like with 14 minutes plus left, it could be a hard push by Brendan right now to push and then to get P1 away from Iqbal Suji. All Iqbal Suji right now has to do is just to drive like hell, while at the same time as well be very, very careful with his drive, because if he wants to keep that P1, he has to do that right now. Brandon Chong is still keeping his drive. The timing doesn't seem to change much. Iqbal is doing a very good job maintaining his P1 there.
Yeah, Shenguan there's in our comment section there, Shenguan still can see water on track, maybe wet until the end is the call. Perhaps the dry line isn't going to be quite as much of an advantage there. No sun in the next 3 minutes, so not likely to dry, says Victor Cax. No Najla Sabila Hasnizan, that's a long screen name there, and she's giving her support to Murdoch. And Victor also asks, how's Iqbal's lap average to Brendan? He's having a look at the gap between first and second place, and so have I. 4 seconds between first and second place. That this could end up with yet another change in the lead if Iqbal is losing time. But then again, Afiq Farid is also closing up the gap. 3 seconds between first and second place, 3 seconds also between second and third place. So it's all fairly close between the top 3 right now. So yes, as Victor said, more of a race of attrition, I feel.
Not sure how many drivers started the race, so there's that. As far as I've seen, I think we only lost the other Adam Harif, not Murdoch. There's 2 Adam Harifs in this race, no relation to each other, but I did see just now there was a Adam Harif in this race. He's out of it as Lu Chun Han gets a drive-through penalty for his troubles. That's an excursion off the road, so he'll go through that. But yeah, if it's a race of attrition, it's probably because a lot of people are dropping like flies, but this is more towards just playing the long game, so to speak. It's endurance after all, so it's just playing the game like the stock market. You just want to wait until you can get the payouts later on if you put the prices right.
Yep. So there we go, car number 18. Looks like it's out of this. If ladies and gentlemen, you're wondering about Nicholas Tand, for all of you Nicholas Tand fans out there, he didn't actually take the start of the race. He has in fact elected to race engineer in a sense, or at least keep company to a couple of the other Speed Tavern guys and look after them for a bit. He wasn't quite up to doing the whole 3 hours, and frankly, I don't blame him. If I was in that situation, I don't think I would do it either. But then again, to each there. Or he did quite well through the rest of the championship, I would have to say. I think he managed to score a few points there, so there's nothing to sneeze about there. But if you guys are wondering, we do have we do have at least one non-starter to the race. As for the attrition, I suppose not attrition in the case of drivers dropping out of the race completely. Everyone's still in that endurance racing mindset of just keep going, just go for the finish. But a lot of the drivers have indeed gone from the top 10 and dropped down towards the midfield or even towards the back of the field there. Ethan Lowe, sorry. I should have got the name right, considering we've seen so much of him over the course of the race there, and he's actually slowly sort of worked himself up into the top 10. There's quite a few decent points in the offing for Eason there, and I have to say he's had quite an entertaining race so far.
Yeah, he's quite consistent actually. Oh no, Brendan!
Oh.
No, Farid too. I think Farid too. I think Farid and Brendan has gotten into probably.
No, that's not Farid. That's not Farid. That is actually one of the Legion Racers cars. So that's it looks like Jaden. Yeah, so Jaden's been involved in the accident too.
Oh no, man, Brendan. Oh, and now I think Farid has taken over P2 away from Brendan Chong. Brendan Chong had so much. He had an opportunity just now to close the gap between himself and Imbang Suji with it was lesser than 2 seconds. But now we can see Brendan Chong just struggling, wiggling through the track, probably trying to get his rhythm back, or worse, the car is damaged right now in the last 10 minutes of the race, which, paired that with wet conditions, he is not going to be able to control his car really, really well now. The car is going to be sliding, as we can see, it's sliding around. He does not have the proper aero to control his car right now. That is super unfortunate for Brendan Chong to get an accident at this last minute of the race. That means that gives Shazwan Shafiq a chance to get P3 if he can close in as soon as possible. Wowzers! I love the surprise. That's another surprise out of the.
I think
that car is really broken. Yeah, absolutely.
The car is toast.
That's sad because he was within a bull's roar of getting a win, which would be absolutely sensational.
Yeah.
For Brendan Chong in this level of field, this depth of field. So it's very unfortunate. 8 minutes left on the clock. I'm not sure if he's going to try and repair the car, but that car is very sideways. I know Brendan Chong loves to do a bit of drifting on AC, but I don't think this is what he had in mind when he was doing all of those late night drift sessions just quietly. And that absolutely hurts. And for another, unbelievable. How is he keeping the car in a straight line? I have no idea. That car is very broken. I would hazard a guess to say that he might even have a little bit of suspension damage there.
It looks a lot like suspension damage to me. Wow, I see. Yeah, missed the breaking point there. And, well,
he's gonna have to go to the pits.
That's it. Yeah, he'll have to. Is he going to the pits? Oh yeah, he is.
He is going to the pits, and it seems that now we have a new P3, Shazwan Shafiq. With his Shazwan Shafiq getting the P3, he got lucky. He got lucky right now, and all Shazwan Shafiq needs to do now is not to repeat the same thing that Brandon did and losing that P3 position. But that was again really unlucky for Brandon Chong to get a very last minute, not a very small accident as well. It looked very, very major. Even when he braked just now, his light kind of flickered. So it does show that it's quite of a bad damage just now. And again, very unfortunate for Brandon Chong just now. Really, really unfortunate.
And you have to spare a thought to the MR boys, because I'm pretty sure if they had the... I think they... For the first half of the race, they've had the most eventful race I've ever seen any team have in ACC. And to have that on top of it, oh, good grief. Obviously, we didn't quite catch the start of that incident, so we'll leave to the stewards to decide that one. But my goodness, those guys have had a very interesting race, to put it very mildly. Brendan Chong, I think, is going to have to spend a lot of time in the pits there. He might still be able to get out ahead of Murdoch if it's just aero damage, but if it's anything worse, then I think he might. Well, at least he'll still be able to score some points. So that's one silver lining that he'll be looking at there. But Taufik manages to get himself back up into fourth place. Shazwan, again, he's had a brilliant race actually to get himself all the way up into third position. He's also been hunting around the leaderboards quite a bit there. I think Farid is in second place. Remember, there is a championship on the line as well, and I think Farid, if he finishes in this position, will, I believe, win the solo drivers championship. And to be second solo, and actually to Iqbal as well, who's been in first position solo throughout the course of this race, those two drivers have absolutely it's a mind over matter at this point to try and keep the concentration up. 5 minutes to go there. Iqbal in the lead, 11 seconds ahead of Afiq Farid. Shazwan in third.
Yeah, Iqbal, if I were to be Iqbal right now, I would be not so stressed. I would be slightly relaxed as well. I mean, I'm not going to be fully relaxed because the race is still on. But I would say he is in a very, very comfortable lead right now. I mean, Brandon Chong basically just took himself up from the equation. Afiq Farid still 10 seconds away. Like, to close the gap in the last 5 minutes is pretty much, I would say, a very hard task to do. So nothing much. I would say Iqbal Suji is pretty much in a slightly comfortable position here. He's all good for himself, and as we can see, Brandon Chong now, sadly from a very strong P2, has dropped to P9. He's still within the points, but again, very unfortunate for him, like, to lose that pole position just now as well. Quite sad for him.
Yeah, absolutely. This is unbelievable stuff. I tell you what, I'm pretty sure. I'm just going to do a quick straw poll here for all of you guys. Who thought that 20 minutes to go we knew who was going to be in the top three?
Beat me too.
I'll tell you one thing. I did not have on my bingo card Shazwan Shafiq in third position at this point in the race. Brendan Chong manages to get out. He's really lost a lot of time, which leads me to think that he's had to do a lot of work on that car. He comes out in ninth position, just ahead of Widagdo. Again, that's heart-wrenching for Brendan. That was a lot of damage. You can see the car was crabbing all over the place trying to get to the pits. He's got the car back up and running again, and while you say never, but it is a minute's gap between himself and the car ahead, so I think he's going to just be driving to the finish. What a shame.
Yeah, I would say, give or take, with the time that we have left, it could be another at least 2 laps, or probably another 2 laps for the race itself. So pretty much, I would say it's a solid win for Iqbal. But then again, the commentator's curse is real, so something might happen if I say his name too much, and I do not want to do that. Please, I do not want to do that. But yes, it seems that Iqbal is currently comfortable in P1.
I was gonna say Primer. I think I see you like live dangerously.
Yeah,
especially with the 4.
Very dangerously.
I know 3 of the 4 of us are famous for our commentators' curses.
Yes.
I really don't want you to join the group. But hey, Murdoch
we'll get there at some point.
Yeah. Just looking at Tech 1 Racing there, Murdoch has taken over that car, and he's doing quite well. He's up into 5th position and doing, I would say, quite well considering what we saw the car was like earlier in the race. It's still a little bit dancing on the edge there, but I think Murdoch's quite happy with a car like that. He tends to be happy with a slightly looser car anyways, so yeah, again, those guys are doing quite well. And again, referring to earlier on in the stream, of course, having a black and orange livery automatically gets my vote for support.
Much agreed on there. As now we can see the track condition has changed from wet to damp. That means the track is not wet. Obviously, it's not wet, but it's not dry either. So the wet tires should still work within the within the limit, but the tire pressure will definitely rise up pretty steep actually. So the driver still has to be very, very careful, as with the high pressure tires, they most probably won't have a lot of contact patch as well, so they have to be really, really careful to tread. As now we have 1 minute and 20 seconds left into the race, as we see Iqbal Suji. Will he be able to do one more lap, one final lap, to finally commemorate the final race of HSM's Enduro Cup here? He is crossing the finish. Okay, I mean the other finish line is the other way around. But yes,
Leaders on final lap now.
yeah. So as we can hear from the stewards, it is going to be the final lap of the race itself. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a great race. All 4 races that we've seen from our drivers, definitely today is the most challenging one for them. A 3-hour drive with a very horrendous weather conditions as well, but they have persevered strong, and I would say confident as well, as all of them are going through this last lap of our race here in Spa-Francorchamps. Definitely, it is an honor to commentate and definitely seeing these drivers going through the challenges themselves.
Just
Yeah,
drivers are taking
certainly.
on the
Yeah.
final couple of corners. Sorry, Abel, please go ahead.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, for Iqbal, it'll be a very big statement win, even though he didn't take part for most of the season. He certainly shows his class when it really counted. When other drivers fell by the wayside, he just kept his nose clean. And yes, we saw him getting overtaken earlier by Afiq Farid, but that didn't phase him. He bided his time, and as any good ace poker player would know, you don't really go for broke until you know when to strike. You just put your chips in when you know you're gonna take it. And certainly Iqbal took his chances very well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Iqbal himself, he did pull out. You know, he's not perfect either. He did make few mistakes here and there. You know, basically we were a bit worried that because of the mistake that he has lost his P1 position. But now, as we can see, mistakes not only happened to him, the other drivers as well. But he got I would say, the lucky end of the stick, as now, because of other people's mistake, he got the last lap out of it right now, as now he is going through the final sector of Spa, the last final sector, or the last race for our HSM Enduro Cup here, hosted in ECC, you know, being in partnership with Sim Magic as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Iqbal Suji, the pinnacle of a very good driver in Gran Turismo, now making his name here in the last final corner of his race here in ECC. Ladies and gentlemen, our winner of the day in Spa is Iqbal
Leaders finished the race.
Suji. What a great drive. What a great drive. He drove really well. That's all I gotta say. No words can describe more.
An absolutely class race from start to finish there for our winner, Iqbal Suji, in second place and taking home the championship. Afiq Farid celebrating as he knows how. And in third place, Shazwan Shafiq. Absolutely fantastic drive from him. A lot of luck, but also a lot of skill. Taufik, through a lot of good luck and a lot of bad luck, comes home in fourth position there, and Murdoch is going to take that Tech 1 car home in fifth place. And let me just say something, guys, this has been one of the most entertaining 3-hour races I've ever had in a long time, and it's been absolutely great to share it with you guys as well. What a race.
The race is still not over yet, as this is a battle, 3-way battle. Oh wait, is it a 3-way battle? They
I
seem
would
to
say
be...
it's more of like a backmarker battle.
Oh yeah. But it is still a battle nonetheless amongst the 3 drivers. So it would seem that coming home, a bit of slowdown by Murdoch there. So
Murdoch, the finish line's a bit further, Murdoch. The finish line's a bit further. The finish, you can do your slides in front of the finish line either, Murdoch. But still,
Entertaining as always.
So that was Murdoch in 5th. And right now it's going to be Isan Loh who will come around. It's not the main stretch, this is still the back stretch. You have to cross... Wait, do you have to cross the La Source?
technically they finished it. Yeah, they finished it already.
Yeah, the finish is still at the same place. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Ryan Lim in sixth. Fantastic drive by Ryan. We've seen quite a lot of Ryan all season long, and this has been one of his best performances as well, giving us all a great show.
Absolutely. I do have to say that if you guys are wondering, the start line and finish line are different simply because of the bus stop chicane, or the final chicane, as I should say, as it's no longer bus stop shaped, and the bus stop is long gone. But yeah, the only reason why they do that is to try and be able to fit 60-car grids during an endurance race, so they'll have to start it on the other side of the track. It's a little bit better going through La Source as it is the bus stop chicane. But that has been an absolutely fantastic race. I think everyone has enjoyed themselves. Some of them might be annoyed, some of them might be excited, and some of them might just be waiting for their next chance at glory. That's been it for the HSM GT European Tour 2026. This has been the final round at Spa-Francorchamps, and I've been Max Palmer with all of our very, very wonderful commentators here. Special thanks goes to Chan Wei Han. It's been a great race, hasn't it?
Boy, it has been such a fantastic race, a fantastic season. I think really the whole proceedings and outcomes of this whole, specifically with this fourth round of the European Tour itself, it has been very unpredictable. We did not expect the sequence of events to unfold the way it did, with every single half an hour block of the race having brought about very unique and interesting surprises. I think the whole combination of unpredictable weather made it all the more interesting for the drivers, and that was why we got to see what we could see in terms of unpredictable happenings happen throughout the race, and that was a great thing. But I think otherwise, well, it was great to be here with you guys. Likewise, I think Amir, what do you think of the season so far?
I think the track is absolutely shit.
I was just about to say that I just saw Afik go into the into the broadcast room.
I won't say so far away, huh, because the season's over. So, yeah, it's been a fantastic one. And the fact that Afik coming in and saying what he wants to say, he probably had a bit of afters of what happened in the RGP. So let him have it. He was pretty much miffed by what happened in that one. So,
We do apologize to the viewers, but yeah, this is our good friend Afik.
Yeah, we don't have beep. We don't have the beep sound effect. We can't censor him.
Yep. So we're to in order.
Anyway,
just to remind everyone that we are still live.
We're still live streaming.
I will warn you that this is in fact Afik Farid, our champion, I believe, for this season. Afik, how was it?
shit track, shit weather. 24. Well, technically it's 24 hours. It's times 8 time multiplier. I think caught everyone by surprise. But again, a bit odd racing tonight without Ali Khairuddin because he's grieving over loss of a family member. So condolences to him. But still, I wouldn't say a win is a win. It's not the right way to do it. But then again, okay lah. Congrats to Iqbal Suji as well. Congrats to all the other participants. Just that a lot of collisions that could have been avoided. But hey man, I can't say much lah at the end of the day.
Understandable. But still, great drive by you, man. Really respect the drive. Really respect the grind as well. Thank you very much for entertaining us, commentators here with your drive. Definitely something that we can respect or send a hands off to lah. So great drive still. Great drive still.
Yeah, thanks. Anyway, thank you to Handshake for organizing. Thank you to Meng as well from Osukani Drift House, sponsor of the event. Again, shout out to all the other drivers as well. And for all the other guys who I accidentally cast, tough luck.
So, in any case, that's going to be it from us here at the HSM GT European Tour. Just one final word there from our other two commentators. Primer, it's been nice to have you on the scene here. What do you think of the championship?
I would say so far the championship has a lot of great battles with different kinds of conditions as well, from our drivers to adapt themselves to the track. But again, like I said, definitely today's race is probably the most eventful one, and I would say the most challenging one for drivers. So hats off to HSM for doing this to the drivers on Spa today. Definitely hope to see more races in the future where the weather is very different, giving a chance to our driver to, basically say WTF. But yes, again, a very good race. By the way, loving it very much. I will pass it off to our another commentator to give his thoughts of the whole championship.
So
Which
yeah,
is
I'm
which is
going to
Rehan.
leave it. No, it was Amo.
Emil, yeah.
So yeah, we'll leave the last word over to you, Amo. I think you have to admit this has been an interesting 3 hours, hasn't it?
Yeah, very exciting. The fact that we saw the conditions playing its part to create a spectacle, and the fact that it played up a huge strategy call for everybody to say, okay, you want to take the wet tires or dry tires in some cases, because we thought just now there was a changeover, but no, it happened to be that everyone was on wet tires all the way to the end. So it created a bit of variations, but ultimately, the guy who was the eventual win at the end definitely deserved his win. We knew he could do the business, but it looked like he was being threatened at one point. But he kept his powder dry all the way to the end,
Mhm.
where he just really didn't have to do much. He just drove his own race and did it superbly.
Absolutely. And I think that's going to be it from us here in the studio. We will see you at the next HSM event. Special thanks goes out to our director, Eka, who's been absolutely fantastic. Terima kasih, Eka. Sangat-sangat. Thank you to
Okay, Kak.
Cameron. Yep. Yep, and thank you to our race director out there, our clerk of the course, if you will, Cameron, who's done a fantastic job in putting this season together. Also, thanks to all of our sponsors as well. But that's going to be it from us, from myself, Max Palmer, from Chan Wei Han, from Primer Ice Tea, and from Ammo. We will see you all in the next stream. Bye for now. Ta-ra.